everybody, you made it. Welcome to Rivals Fight Night, the Avengers casting crew put together as I threw my sunglasses literally out the window just now. We have Uber, we have Jake on the mics tonight. And guys, what a way to start the show. It's chaos already.
Don't you live on the 227th floor? You're never getting those back, brother. Them penthouse windows are a killer.
I'm big chilling in Columbus, Ohio, in the finest of Airbnbs. They come with cats, as you can see behind me. But Jake, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this game because every time I load in, you are already in game. So how high is your rank right now? And when are you going to ditch us to go play professionally?
That's a good question. I'm keeping my options open. I'm fielding all offers, so teams hit me up. No, just kidding. Focused on the cast for now. I'm super excited for this game and this tournament in particular to get some of these teams to the community. I've been having a lot of fun on Rivals this season. I just hopped on, played a few games. I think I'm like 19-2, which is pretty good for the start of the season. But we'll see. I'm trying to get that top 500. Put some respect on the casters, right? I gotta be the people's champion out here.
19-2. That is some cheating work out of Jake because I'm like 29-14. Uber, let's talk a little bit, though, about casting with Mr. Rex because you guys did OCE. You gave us a little sample of what's coming from the APAC. What have we seen in comps and what do you expect to change since the last time you were on the mic?
Yeah, that was a great surprise. We got reached out to cover the MRI for OCE, the Marvel Rivals Invitational. They're doing it in every region, but OCE was the first one. We did an overnight cast, which is always fun considering we work with Matt's a fever dream anyway. Look, I mean, we saw a lot of healing, right? Obviously, like a lot of Loki picked to duplicate and get extra healing ultimates. So like a lot of those strategists really very powerful right now. Luna Snow especially. Cloak and Dagger a good secondary option if like a Loki's banned. But important, we saw burst damage to shut down these strategists midway through those big healing ultimates. Meteor M is huge with the burst damage you can apply. And if you can find burst damage anywhere in this game, you want to try and bring it in to shut down some of those wombo combo plays. Otherwise, we have these long fights with a lot of healing, multiple ultimate rotations even. So that's something we want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm expecting some very long fights to all end with ultimates. Jake, let's talk about the top player picks on the day. Who do we expect to see most often in starting lineups?
I think it's a good shout on the supports, but I think the exciting thing about the format is, with the addition of hero bans, the top priority heroes might actually just be getting banned out in some of these games, depending on, what teams don't want to deal with. I think Wolverine is a pick that we're going to see probably a lot of in professional play with, the synergy teams bring. The ability to like grab an enemy tank and pull them out of formation, pull them out of position is incredibly powerful when you've got your team ready and everyone's communicating and bringing that focus fire. I've seen that in high level ranked as well. But then there's also the option for just classic carry potential from duelists like Hela who can if you just hit all your shots, take over the game, destroy the entire lobby, pick off supports, grind through tanks. You can kind of get it all done with some of those raw DPS compositions. So I feel like there are different approaches to the game right now. Some teams focus on that like heavy team play, maybe with more strategists or trying to displace the enemy. And other teams I think are more confident in their deathmatch ability and put duelists on characters where their individual mechanics can shine.
I want to see a lot of dive today. Let's see some duelist and someone teach me how to deal with it because in my diamond games, we are getting rolled anytime there's a BP, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, anyone who gets on your back line. Let's take a look at the format though, because it's all about the pros, right? Uber, we've got some of the best from EU and NA, and you guys are starting with Europe. So talk me through the format. How's it going to work tonight?
Yeah, okay, so pretty straightforward stuff. Basically, in this sort of fight night format, we have two teams that play in a play-in match. That is going to be a best of 5 between Europe's Luminosity and Team Peps. The winner will go into the money match, as we call it, a best of 7 series against Virtus Pro. Now, in this first week, this inaugural Rivals Fight Night, we kind of have to designate a team as the current king of the hill, even if we haven't had like a qualifier for that. But based on their performances so far, Virtus Pro, we feel definitely have earned that spot to sort of start off in this, money match, but we will calibrate, of course, as we go. Winner stays on. So the winner of Virtus Pro, and the winner in Luminosity and Team Peps, they will remain in that spot, that, automatic money match qualification heading into next week. And we might be looking at other teams that fight through the play-in to have an opportunity to take them on.
I can't wait for tonight. Virtus Pro, I was looking through the top global leaderboard. I think Sparker has 3 accounts in the top 10 right now. The guy has been putting in time. We've seen a little sample of it on his own stream and, of course, in recent competitions. But here on Fight Night, they're playing for $1,000. We have to wait and see, though, who is going to make it through. Is it Luminosity or the Frenchies on Peps? Can we talk a little bit about our players, Jake? And Can you tell me what to expect from the European region? Is it different from my NA ranked games?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different from any kind of ranked games you'll ever see. I think there is going to be maybe more emphasis on things like Bucky and Wolverine to, pull players out of position. It's less about the individual carry from those heroes and more about what they offer to the team strategist play. What I'm really curious about, though, overall is, will we see a commitment to the general 2-2-2 style in terms of 2 vanguards, 2 duelists, and 2 strategists? Or will these teams maybe push for something like a third strategist or potentially a third vanguard we've seen in some potential strategies? I think there's strengths and weaknesses to those decisions, but on certain maps, I think, having no role lock in the game right now really means that strategy is wide open. Like, you can really approach the game in different ways. And I mean, my experience with games like Marvel Rivals, like this early on in the game's life cycle, there are strategies people just haven't really discovered yet, haven't innovated yet, that could be, making an appearance in a tournament like today. So I don't want to be like too clear with my predictions, like, oh, it's going to be exactly this or that, because I think the meta evolves day to day. And with hero bans, you got to adapt live in the match.
We'll see what our players choose to bring out, and of course, it's all going to be decided by the pick and ban system. The matches are kicking off here in just a little bit. We'll be showcasing the players on each team as well as we get through the rosters. Uber, though, real quick, I see a lot of my friends coming over from the Call of Duty universe. We have people coming from the Overwatch world, Halo world, everyone coming to check out one of the most popular games on the planet. Marvel Rivals has been a blast, and although we have 3 categories, you got your Vanguard, your Duelist, your Strategist, everyone kind of has crossover abilities. So we see Storm in the lineup for Luminosity today. Can you tell me a little bit about one of the most picked characters I've seen?
Sure. I mean, again, this graphic is obviously not their draft. This is like the signature, hero for a lot of our players, right? Naga in the past, in previous games, has often sort of tended towards airborne duelists, with, good utility, but also high damage. I think Storm is fantastic because she offers a huge amount of utility on top of that, consistent damage, right? She has that weather control ability that either gives a movement speed boost to everyone around her or a damage boost. And that, area of effect field can be empowered with her E-Goddess boost that either, does periodic damage or slows everyone inside of it. So Storm is very popular. Outside of, comps that have a lot of that sort of long range poke and maybe hit scan pressure, you still have to respect that. But with the amount of healing and the ease of healing in this game, you can reliably keep your Storm alive under pressure from a Punisher, Hela, for example. So it's a bit of a tightrope that you have to walk, but Storm's really fantastic. Should expect to see some of her here and there. A lot of teams do like to play those poke comps and go for Strange, go for Magneto, go for a really solid healing backline, and just have long range potential. The more here on this graphic, I think is very appropriate. There are some situations where that team up with Luna Slow really takes Namor to another level. Getting an extra Monstro spawn that also slows people is unbelievably powerful. And of course, when you hit a right click as Namor and have all your Monstro spawns turn on that target, they can be burst down very quickly. It's not the most unreasonable thing to see Namor throw down 3 Monstro spawns flanking, hit a support with right click, and then watch them just disintegrate.
It's the greatest scumbag move of all time. I did it all last night, Jake. We'll see a lot of Namor trying to counter some of the dive. You can also be very aggressive with him. Can we talk about pure aggression, though? If I'm somebody who doesn't worry about taking damage, I just want to be constantly holding forward and dishing it out, what's my character to go with? Is it Hulk? Is it going to be Thing? Are you going with Doctor Strange? What kind of Vanguard do I want to see?
I think the Thing is going to be maybe a mainstay today with, all of the team play potential and just having like a hard stun lockdown and, the ability to disable some of those movement skills on just a cooldown. If you catch people with that charge, you can disable their movement skills. And a lot of these heroes, the high damage dealing heroes, are relying on those movement skills to get them out of trouble and, turn around a difficult fight. So the Thing is great for not only being able to tolerate and tank that damage, being resistant to a lot of those crowd control effects, but also being able to lock down your opponents and prevent them from just kiting you away endlessly. And I think that's some of the team play that we'll see most out of people who do pick the Thing, is that, catching somebody with the rest of your team ready to follow up on that, ready to get the finish on the control. And I think Namor, a great shout out, is that ultimate as well. The ability to like hard stun people is incredibly potent right now in Marvel Rivals, given that if your team's ready to focus fire, you can even get through some of the tankier health pools in that couple seconds.
Yeah,
love that call out.
Is the only other ability rather that can actually sort of stop those mobility abilities, right? It's that and the Thing's charge. So those two are going to be really crucial, because even like Invisible Woman, right, can double jump out, become invisible. That gets shut down as well. It's really hard to lock people down in Marvel Rivals pocket. So having access to one of those two abilities in your comp is really important.
Let's talk about the opposition for Luminosity tonight. We got Team Peps representing France, and we know when the French get together, there can be chaos. Let's take a look at some of the damage dealers on this list, and tell me, who do you think is going to be our star player to watch, Jake?
I mean, I think it's going to be, I think both duelists are great to highlight. Hardest and Leaf, I mean, their signature heroes, Wolverine and Bucky. This is a composition with these two duelists in particular that we've seen really rise to prominence recently in top level play with, the ability, I talked about this with Wolverine being able to like grab an enemy tank, kidnap them into your backline. Bucky can do essentially the same thing. And that level of constant displacement threat makes it really challenging to position against this lineup. Like they don't have the highest level of poke damage, but when they're able to like play on a corner and pull people out of position, it can be really difficult. Even with a strategist ult online that typically saves people, if you pull them out of the strategist ult, right, it's not doing them any good. So this is a very high skill team comp, I think, for the top level teams, and something that I think teams will probably have to be attacking with some bans against Team Peps. I think you don't want to give them Wolverine and Bucky. That's just so much displacement.
Uber, what are you seeing here from the Peps lineup today? Sorry, I just cut out there for a second. I see the chat going nuts. I'm becoming a Peps fan with them. Uber, what should I know about these?
Yeah, Peps, obviously, you got plenty of reason to get excited about this team. We have seen many of these players at the top level before. Leaf in other games was like a high mobility duelist player, someone who often wanted to flank and have these flashy moments, whereas Hardest was a hit scan player through and through. Extremely accurate, really devastating on short to mid-range hit scan picks and even some of the snipers in past games. So I do think that like seeing these names come back, like bear in mind, I have not seen these games at the top level in esports for quite some time. So seeing them come back for me is really exciting. Natlox also has played at a very high level as someone I particularly recognize here. So like you've got you've got a flanker in Leaf, you've got a hit scan player in Hardest. Of course, there's a lot of crossover between the two of them, but I do think this team has got a really deadly sort of core of duelists.
Keep your strategist alive. That's going to be the name of the game. And of course, use those ultimates to counter each other. Jake, I'm excited to jump into this one. I'm told by Solomon, the man behind the screen, that we are almost in game. We have 9 of our 12 players. We're about to be loading in maps. How are we choosing where we're going to play? And who gets to decide where we're going to be, I guess, playing domination? Or are you going to be playing a little bit of convoy?
So we're going to be starting with a preset map, but from there on in the series, the loser of the map will have free reign to pick any map as long as it hasn't been played in the series so far. No repeating the same map over again. But this is going to mean that if you do go down on that first map, you have the opportunity to take us to your strongest map. So we're going to be starting on Royal Palace. And I think domination is a particularly interesting mode in Marvel Rivals. If you're familiar with the genre, but not so much Marvel Rivals, one little wrinkle in domination in Marvel Rivals is that you can hold on to your ultimates between rounds. So there's a real tough decision when it comes to the end of these rounds of, do you want to double down and commit in a potentially difficult round that you might end up losing? Or is it better to just, hold your cards and be ready for that future round, be ready to secure an early advantage next time? And I think that strategically makes this mode incredibly interesting, how teams choose to commit. As the pressure gets more and more intense, closer and closer to the end of the round, the decision becomes more and more difficult. I think I see the top teams really push to try to clutch as much as possible, playing with a ton of confidence. But to me, it is an interesting decision that we don't really see in many games in the genre.
Uber, that was going to be my next question. I'm that jerk who pops ult even if the rest of my team's not close. I'm like, listen, this is winnable. Get in here, guys. I'm buying us time. What have you seen so far from the top level play? Actually, we're getting in here as we have our character selection timed out. And what bans are we expecting here? Uber, walk me through this.
Okay, so hell is no surprise here. Really powerful, sort of mid-range hit scan hero. You might see Wolverine. Groot is also extremely hard to kill, and breaking up line of sight, between the enemy's strategists and their front line is really important. We are protecting Venom, so blue side absolutely wants to get diving here.
Venom is particularly strong on Royal Palace too. The mobility from that swing is pretty incredible in terms of coming in and out on the map. And this is interesting. We got the Adam Warlock ban, makes a lot of sense. This has been one of the strongest team ups in the game entirely, with the Star-Lord, Adam Warlock, Mantis. The self-res is just so impactful, letting your Star-Lord really push the level of risk that they can take and still come out on top. So you can still play the Star-Lord, but if you die, you are going to be out. There's not going to be that reliable Adam Warlock res to back you up.
Yeah. There's a rejuvenation zone being protected here, Puckett. So they want to keep Loki. That might be to stave off the dive that they expect to see come in. Also, just give them two of those strategist ultimates, right? Most likely, like, you know, Fate of Both Worlds is Lunar Snow's ultimate. Very powerful. Having an extra one of those is astonishing, but Loki, very powerful in his own right with the rest of his kit.
Map number 1 loading up right now. We're going to Royal Palace, one of my favorites for domination. Let's get a little bit of comp ideas. We know Venom.
I mean,
Okay, so-
if you're going to play Venom, you're going to commit to a dive comp, right? I mean, like, very likely, at least you're going to have at minimum 1 flanking DPS, but I've seen people pick 2 flanking duelists, even on domination, and just play, you know, something like a Psylocke could be coming in. You could go for the Spider-Man with the team up, and honestly, I do think if you have a really good Spider-Man, this hero has such an insane skill potential. Like, I think it's people's most hated hero when they see it on their team in rank.
Yes.
But at this level of play, the top Spider-Mans with the Venom team up, I have seen this actually be a really potent combo.
Yeah. Again, still can go for Star-Lord, Puckett, even though you don't have the team up or with Adam Warlock, still a very good flanking duelist.
Game is ready, gentlemen. Best of 5. Europe's plan starts now.
All right, here we go. We do have the Venom, of course, on the side of Peps. They are going to try and work in the Wolverine to some degree now as well, and the Namor for a bit of poke. So a bit of hybrid in terms of what their team is intended to do, because Magneto obviously plays a lot more alongside Namor as a poke duelist. There's plenty of info for Timo to gain here about this topside push from Luminosity.
Yeah, both teams running a more balanced composition with a bit of dive, a bit of poke, with the ability of that. You know, it's going to be the Venom comboing with Star-Lord to get in for the side of Luminosity, see if they can make anything happen. Both teams kind of waiting for the point to unlock, but early pressure from Peps.
And Luminosity also, okay, so they have the Mantis here, which is a different look and has kind of fallen out of favor a bit lately. Hardest goes down, so the Namor poke battle, won out by Luminosity here. And now it's getting a bit messy on the point. Right now, Timo's just kind of out in front of the entirety of Luminosity. This is allowing Rajaro to get some decent damage down. Again, Crook is able to hit the Sleeping Spore and back right away, but Rajaro eventually falls, is kidnapped by Leaf on that Wolverine, taken out of the fight.
Yeah, and Peps is managing to bring this one back despite the initial kill going against them. That's the threat of Wolverine. I mean, you see so many players from Luminosity are aware of it, but now pulling the Venom in deep, catching him in the backline. And even with that extra shield, I mean, you just cannot tank through Wolverine. You've got to run from that. Naga with the counter kill, though, makes it still winnable for Luminosity, but Peps in control are kind of happy to make this fight go long.
Yeah, without Shu, they can still work with this to some degree. You can see the rejuvenation zone just being inhabited by Leaf there, just while they figure out what's going on. Cellular Corrosion did come in from Trust Me, but it didn't stick, and frankly, Switch is chilling. They've got a Fate of Both Worlds available now, and here's the Galactic Legend coming in from the top side, but Naga's not able to burst down the Lunar Snow, and all of that healing being given. But they do spot Timo outside of that healing field. Elsewhere, though, Trust Me, burst down by the Wolverine. Leaf has already shown himself, Jake, to be a big problem here, and Peps do start in control.
Yeah, and the back-to-back Luna Snow ultimates with the help of that Loki copy really stabilized this fight for Team Peps, but now it's all over. The opportunity here is available for Luminosity to strike back and get some kills. Seems like maybe just too little too late. The point hold is so potent. I mean, this Loki is just pumping heals constantly, and the help of the Namor in the backline means it's not easy to get in here for Naga Star-Lord.
Now, a little bit tough here for Luminosity to break in. They do have a Meteor Ember. That's about all that they're working with. There's a Horde of Proteus thrown down, and Hardest is trying to deal with this dive. Trust Me is going to be forced away, and it ends up going quite low, but that is an ultimate from Leaf on that Wolverine. Here's Shu wrapping around the corner. Spots destroyed. They have to cocoon and head to the skies. Shu a little bit low, but will get the healing that they need in time. It's on Luminosity here. They have to challenge this point. They need to find a way to actually get all 6 players in fighting form, because Peps are threatening to run away with this round.
Man, Leaf has just been eating them up this round, constantly counter diving on the Wolverine. And, you know, he's not playing to like force super aggressive moves, but every time it feels like Luminosity are going in, trying to make a play on this backline, they're not only having to deal with Namor and all of those spawn, but also it's Wolverine pulling them deeper than they anticipated, you know, making it too difficult for them to get out. And I mean, the point control has been immaculate from Team Peps so far in the round.
Natlox might be waiting out a Meteor M before they dupe a Fate of Both Worlds ultimate here. Here's the Meteor M from Rajaro. Needs a good connection off this. Some burst damage, it's not going to be there. Shu's able to screen up. Rejuvenation Zone also applied, so no one would have been taken down anyway. Trust Me in the front line, switching over towards the thing. He's taken a bunch of damage, but it's almost clobbering time. That's that Fate of Both Worlds active here for Natlox, and Switch has one straight after, so you can chain these healing ultimates back to back. Meteor M, no connection there for Shu. Fate is still able to make use of their Lunar Snow ultimate as well. Horde of Proteus mostly shielded off there by Shu. And eventually those Luminosity ults are going to expire. Leaf in the mix has already had that regenerative healing factor triggered, but is still ready to throw down, fight, and they get rid of the Mantis, Jake. That's massive.
Yeah, Leaf is just dominating now, and without any more strategist ults, it's kind of free reign for Wolverine to get in here and continue to fight, getting that extra shield from Magneto, and it's a 100-0 round for Team Peps. And I gotta say, Mitch, I mean, aside from a couple of pickoffs there, it feels like Team Peps were in full control that round.
I mean, they start obviously with that point control, and we do see Luminosity spending a lot of time fighting. But, you know, I see them like down to 5 players. They've got a Luminosity ultimate in. They weren't able to find any picks. I think that's the key difference between these teams. Naga is constantly looking for opportunities to get knockouts on this Star-Lord, but there is so much healing. And every time we see a Galactic Legend, it gets healed through by Peps, whereas they have the Wolverine. You carve someone out of the formation, take him away from those area of effect healing, and Leaf has been able to blow up entire vanguards on their own on this Wolverine. It's just busted.
Yeah, and I mean, the copied fate of both worlds, like the timing is just immaculate from Team Peps. There's really no window for Luminosity to punish when it's, you know, Loki ult into the Luna Snow, and then Luna Snow's own ultimate comes up right after that. That's, you know, once you have point control, even if you're losing the fight, that's like, you know, what, 20, 30 seconds of stall out. It's pretty ridiculous to deal with on this domination round. So Peps came prepared with a pretty sick strategy here, Mitch.
I also like that Teemo can honestly just keep some rather strategists busy in the back line. I don't know if there's a ton of solo kill potential here necessarily for the Venom, but Teemo's pretty annoying. And if you do hit that cellular corrosion that, you know, hits a big bit of burst damage, it can really contribute overall quite effectively. Keep an eye, of course, on the ultimates here, because we are carrying that percentage over from previous rounds. You've got to clear these Loki clones, and Teemo doesn't want to play overly aggressive right now. We're clearing Monstro spawns, and Team Peps are controlling this space really well. They got to flip early.
Yeah, this is big. We've seen what they were able to do with this defensive position before, and already the round turning against Luminosity at first burst onto that catch. Leaf, I think, pulled them out of position, and once again, trying to turn a corner on this Wolverine just looks impossible. The front line for Team Peps is just indomitable holding down these corners.
And it's really hard to be ready, I think, for that Namor burst, right? If he hits a Lord of the Seas on you and there are multiple spawns in play, you just get chunked down. That healing over time, you know, that your sort of team offered isn't always enough. Here's the dive in from Leaf, though. It's Galactic Legend in play. Is there a healing ultimate for Peps to counter this? It does look like it. They have the Loki copy of the Fate of Both Worlds, and geez, even Meteor M doesn't work. Trust me, has to hit one of those sort of, you know, strategists like head on. It's awful hard to do. Naga, though, a threat now, but Switch has a Fate of Both Worlds up as well. Peps have healing ultimate after healing ultimate just to add here.
Yeah, and they're really holding on. Now they pop the Fate of Both Worlds, and I think it's a little bit of a better value support ultimate here. Fate super low, almost getting bursted down, and misses the opportunity to pop their own Luna Snow ultimate, and Team Peps is going to get a full cleanup off the back of that. Luminosity, they had the strategist ultimate. They just couldn't find it through there.
That is so dirty. I mean, Leaf with full rage, that regenerative healing factor gives you a disgusting amount of overheal in a pinch. It is so hard to blow up that Wolverine, and at this level, you're always going to be capped out on rage. You can always use the last stand to get yourself there as well. So Peps are in great shape again. They've now got the Meteor M to potentially shut down Fate if they try and go for a Luna Snow ult. That's a failed attack here, of course, for Leaf. Forced to get on out there, but is able to escape after going so deep here. Here's the Horn of Proteus getting thrown in now, and straight away, yeah, I'm seeing a Luna Snow ultimate from Fate.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's pushing them forward. It's getting them through the choke points, but the clock is ticking. You've got to win this fight for Luminosity, and they're not finding any kills on the back of this strategist ultimate. Namor ready with the Horn of Proteus, ready to turn this round at a moment's notice. With the copy from Loki, they're completely stable, unbothered entirely by Naga's Legendary. It's getting nothing done here, just getting completely healed through. And that's one of your supports already down, strategist down, and that you're lacking the throughput to really get through this team fight.
Meteor M gonna have to be a big one. No kill off the back of that. Eventually, Leaf, though, does fall. But we're able to find another one here. Hardest just spots Naga out in the open. Also forcing the cocoon here. Rajara going low elsewhere. There's no way. There's no way. So, yeah, Stroy just gets pushed off the point. Now we at least see Fate of Both Worlds here for Fate themselves. But there's a last stand here for Leaf as they return to the point. And Peps are chilling. There's no reason to worry. They've got their own Luna Snow ultimate in play. Clobber and Time, they're ready for Rajara, but they've got to be able to play off this stun effect, and the healing is still active for Switch, which means that Natlox is going to shrug off that entire thing ultimate, and Rajara is getting lower and lower.
That was a beautiful bubble from Shu to keep the strategist alive. It's a 5-on-5 on the point, though. Still potentially winnable for Luminosity, but the Venom ult comes in. So much overhealth from that. And now the damage being pumped by the Namor, starting to grind it out on the point with the Horn of Proteus, finishing off the round. And it's a dominant 2-0 for Team Peps to start us off here in the series.
And you've just got to expect at some point that you're always going to be playing into one of those big strategist ultimates. You have to play under that assumption. And that's kind of why I think that the Wolverine is so effective here, because you are displacing your opponents, taking them away from those healing fields, and in some cases, doing it to the enemy, Venom, right? Just being able to burst them down, blow them up, and get back to business. Get that player advantage. And in a longer fight, I mean, you can see how you can succeed. Look at the healing. Now locks and switch, they don't die. 0 deaths.
Yeah, 0 deaths on strategy. That's ridiculous, right? Like, that's like the dream stat line for the strategist. You're just stable, you're alive, you're pumping heals. I'm not gonna lie though, Mitch, if we don't see Wolverine banned in the next map, I'm gonna crash out on Luminosity. With what Leaf just did to you, that game was just over. It was like, if you can't match the Wolverine, I'm pretty sure this just has to be first banned. Like, what Leaf is doing, like, how do you respond to that? He's completely pulling your vanguards out of position. We talked about this before the match, the threat that poses against an organized team like Peps.
Yep. Bucket, you're muted in Discord.
How about now?
He doesn't want to talk to us
right now. All right. We fixed it. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I feel like I'm watching Tanuki all over again. The Wolverine dominates the game, but more importantly, Loki overpowered? Question mark. Jake, should I be able to have 12 seconds of just Luna ults?
The copied Luna ult is really sick. It's really potent. And I think Loki also, just regardless of the copied ultimate and the incredible power spike that offers you, there's just so much outplay potential from the Loki. Not only does he pump a ton of damage with all those clones when he's not busy healing, he can really become a significant damage dealer. But that immortality rune is deceptively impactful, right? When something like the Horn of Proteus comes down from the enemy Namor and are trying to one-shot people, that immortality rune can completely shut those things down, right? It's just this cooldown skill that can completely save you from ultimates. And we saw that a few moments there. I also want to highlight from Team Peps, Shu's Magneto was really impressive.
Yes.
Not only really holding down the point on his own and being really a key frontliner for the squad, but great usage of that bubble defending his strategist in the backline. There's a few moments where I think some of those strategists would have gone down if not for the timely bubble from Shu.
It's that and regeneration domain are the only abilities in the game, Puckett, that can stop burst damage. And that is the thing that you're most vulnerable to when your Luna Snow's ulting or your Loki's coppering a Luna ult, right? Regeneration domain and that bubble, really crucial, as they technically block an infinite amount of damage in that window. And that's a huge difference maker when there's just so much healing teams are trying to cut through with one large amount of front-loaded damage.
You hear that, Magneto's in the chat? You can bubble your healers.
You can bubble up.
Keep your strategist alive,
It's
and you might live longer.
technique.
You have to turn
Try
around,
it out.
though,
I want to take a moment to give a big shout out to everyone in the chat today. This is not a hardcore esports broadcast, so we're going to show some love to everyone tuning in. We got Melkin tuning in for the first time. DHX was saying, God, I love Uber. And I just got to say, the Uber Jake combo, I feel like I'm at Worlds or something. This is such a special day here as a host, Uber.
It's been too
Feels
long,
good, man. Feels good.
I reckon me and Jake got like a cast in previous games together, like here and there, but really only once in a blue moon. So I'm having a blast.
Jake, we got the Frenchies dominating 2-0. Will we see Luna banned? Is that going to be the secret? Do you want to get rid of Loki, or is it really the Wolverine that I have to remove from this game? Talk me through map number 2.
Look, you got to pick your battles, right? Like, in the end, there's going to be a protect after the first ban. So you really only get one guaranteed ban. But after what I saw personally, I just felt that this Wolverine is such a huge X factor, right? Support ultimates can keep you alive for a long time. But if you're not in control of the point and you're countering those with your own strategist ultimates, it's not really the end of the world, right? You can outlast those if you bring your own strong macro play. The Wolverine, though, for what Leaf is doing, I mean, it's so disruptive to the game plan for Luminosity. It feels like they're not really able to get the fight going on their terms because they're constantly pulled out of position. So if I'm Luminosity Gaming, if I'm coaching them right now, I'm first banning this Wolverine. Leaf, you got to give this guy some respect what he just did in that first match.
Yeah. I mean,
and for Naga Uber, I feel like you mentioned he's so good at hit scan. He goes to the Star-Lord. Star-Lord was negated during that first game. Do you go to him again later on different maps, something where you may have more verticality?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Obviously, Star-Lord is extremely slippery and hard to catch. And when you're going up against a team that, doesn't exactly, have everybody accounted for in terms of eyes on all the healers, then it's really powerful. I still think Star-Lord is totally reasonable to play on any map, this one included. On Domination, Star-Lord is very good because you can encircle, use that mobility to get around the point, but you have such a powerful ultimate. It locks on, Galactic Legend locks onto people, and you can use it obviously after using a dash boost. So you're up in the sky and you're virtually a flyer during that ultimate, for all intents and purposes, which they're not easy to deal with in this game. But again, it's an ultimate that you are saving those big healing cooldowns for. And if Naga cannot find those windows in which those are not available, hint, they're about 80% of the time they're available, then he's going to struggle. It could be a matter of staggering out some of these big ultimates, right, to try and find those windows, because we are seeing them all thrown into the mix, and the healing throughput off, Fate of Both Worlds is enough to account for multiple big damage over time ultimates that I would sort of consider Galactic Legend to be.
Speaking of Galactic Legends, we are graced by the albatross of esports. The great Seagull is here, and so are his fans. Welcome in, everybody. You are watching Rivals Fight Night. This is our opening episode. You are watching the inaugural Rivals competition. We're showcasing the best in Europe right now. A little bit later in the show, we've got the best in North America as well. And Virtus Pro will be our defending champs. If you have seen any gameplay recently, you probably saw them winning. Jake, we're just moments away from this game 2. So will we see any Storm? Are we going to see Torch at all today? Is Mr. Fantastic going to make an appearance in professional Rivals? Give me a little look into the Jake crystal ball.
When the Mr. Fantastic comes out, you know you're in too deep here in the professional match. I think Mr. Fantastic, probably one of the lowest likelihood picks we will see come out. Storm, though, I think is a great highlight because, in some of the previous tournaments earlier on in Marvel Rivals, we saw some teams running a very innovative comp with the Storm, running a triple Vanguard setup with Storm and using Storm's ability to add that AoE damage to the team and just full deathballing on Storm. Put your entire team in that damage aura, running at them with something like the Thor, grabbing enemies, pulling them back to you. We've seen that composition work before. So far, though, I just don't think Team Peps are really going to change much. I feel like Hardest on the Namor is a great shout out as well. We talked about Star-Lord being hard to shut down, being a big threat in the sky, but Hardest is just dominating him in some of these 1v1 fights. In theory, the Flyers are hard to kill, but if you got a sick aimer on Namor, it starts to become, I think a little bit more tenuous for Star-Lord.
Also, your monster spawn just shoot people that are trying to flank you sometimes. You can place defensive spawns down around where your strategists are, and then when Star-Lord pulls through, he just gets annihilated by gigantic octopus tentacles. So, that is kind of hard to deal with as a flanking duelist in this game.
All right, looks like we have our level selected. Where are we going, Jake? And expectations if you're Luminosity. Do we need to ban Wolverine?
Shin Shibuya, now this does kind of complicate things because I do think this is a much more difficult map for Wolverine. In comparison to Domination, where you're fighting around the point, there's a lot of centralized battle in one location. You kind of circling around those key pieces of cover. Wolverine, I think, loves to play on corners where he can, grab an enemy, pull them back to his team without getting poked from range. But Shin Shibuya is pretty much the opposite of that in terms of map type. It's very wide open. There's a lot of space. So I think this is a map maybe where you could see Luminosity's strategy shine a little bit more effectively.
Yeah, you can make use of that high ground as Wolverine and sort of set up your feral leaps from there, but it's really challenging. You sometimes have to walk into the backline and then charge someone out. So not so simple. Again, I do think that if you have adequate healing for that Wolverine, you can make it work. But that might be part of the decision making here for LG is get us on a map where you cannot so easily carve people out and kind of even the playing field. Maybe puts this bucket in more of a poke sort of doctrine here. Means Groot obviously is an option for some of these longer straightaways. Sometimes when the maps do narrow down, it can be good, but we haven't seen any Strange yet, right? He definitely becomes much more relevant as we move away from those domination games.
Jake, I have a friend who is a top 100 Squirrel Girl main. Is he a worthless contribution to ranked? Will we see Squirrel Girl possibly on a poke game mode?
Squirrel Girl is such an interesting character because I think a lot of the abilities leave a bit to be desired, frankly, in terms of your how it's so hard to hit that rooting skill. The super jump, all right, is actually pretty sweet.
That's quite nice.
But the primary weapon is incredible. You actually do an insane amount of spam down a small choke point. You can really control the area. I think the ult is also a little lackluster. So I think with how important ults are right now and your ability to swing these crucial high pressure fights, I think that's probably the biggest reason that we won't see as much Squirrel Girl because you're doing all this damage, you're farming all this ultimate. And then the ultimate itself is the little friends are not so helpful.
I will say
the squirrel tsunami is not strong enough for Jake Overwatch.
Yeah, it's called unbeatable, but I don't know if that's true. The fact that you can actually like damage the tsunami to stop it is maybe leaves a little bit too much counterplay. I would say the team up with Spider-Man is actually pretty good. Actually,
that is
AoE immobilize people with that webbed acorn, but I just wouldn't count on seeing it. It's something that could be really easily like punished by flyers or anybody that's hit scan or
Hella
anybody
just shows
that
up in the server and laughs at you and your Squirrel Girl
You
Spider-Man.
can bank the nuts around corners, Jake. Trust me. All right, my friend. Sorry, not defend yourself. Please stop insta-locking Squirrel Girl in all of your Grandmasters or higher ranked games. Okay, we have this game kicking off here in just a moment. We're waiting for the bans and protects to see who is going to be locked in. If you're just joining us, Team Peps from France establishing dominance. The opening domination, 2 quick rounds on Royal Palace. It was not even close. Now we're going into Luminosity's pick. And if you're watching the best of 5, you have to think this is a must-win scenario, Uber. Otherwise, you're looking at a 3-0, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that now that Luminosity have a little bit more of a sense of what to ban. I think if you take out the Wolverine factor from that previous game, and I don't want to distill it just down to one hero pick, but if you can sort of remove that aspect, then I do think that the match opens up a lot more. Look, and Shin Shibuya obviously is a pretty interesting map in which, the context around which these fights are occurring changes drastically, right? These kind of maps, these convergence maps where you do start in control, like as defenders of a point, right? There is a way to encircle you, but defensively, you are heavily advantaged a lot of the time, and being able to set up on high ground behind there. Like, we talked about maybe aiming a ban at Wolverine. I think that's just something I saw in OS a lot. Just because those people just didn't want to deal with the volatility that Wolverine can sort of bring to a game. Because if you disrespect an individual player and they're just end up being a sick Wolverine, like you're constantly playing like 5v6, right? I do wonder, like, I think Jake mentioned this. Winter Soldier, really powerful. The reset potential with Kraken Impact is significant, but also the biotic arm to pull enemies out of formation. It's the same tech as you've seen in other games. If you turn your body quickly, the bionic arm pulls the target to in front of you where you're facing. So if you turn to the side or the rear, you can literally pull people out of formation. And you have a lot of CC in general, right? Your dash also knocks people up, and it's important to weave your abilities in as Winter Soldier because it reloads roster stern for you. It's only got 3 bullets otherwise, unless you're abusing a broken team up with Rocket Raccoon. But
it's totally not broken. Same with the Punisher. It's just shoddy. It's the greatest thing in the game.
Pretty good.
Jake, is Bucky the best duelist right now? Because if I ever see someone insta-lock him, I'm not mad at my game.
I do think Bucky has incredible potential. It's a super high-skilled duelist. I also think, for what it's worth for Luminosity Gaming, I think it has a decent matchup against Wolverine, right? Because Wolverine's all about jumping in, grabbing somebody, and getting out at that crucial moment, pulling them back to your team. But if you've got a Bucky who can catch him, hook him in, and push him, even deeper to your team, you can do kind of the exact opposite, flip the script on Wolverine, turn the combo around on him. And so the potential to disrupt that combo can mitigate some of his effectiveness. I think the challenge, though, with stuff like Wolverine and Bucky is that you really want a specialist player. You want a player who's incredibly comfortable with these kits, because it's not like, something like a Hela, Namor. You just want like the sickest, nastiest aimer of all time, just hitting heads, right? More or less, that gets the job done on those characters. That's the key factor. But for things like Bucky and Wolverine, and we saw from Leaf constantly on the Wolverine, right? He's getting a ton done, but he's not just running it down. He's not just like immediately going for his plays. He's very tactical. He's very patient. And that's what you need to be really successful, I think, on these, pull-oriented, team play-oriented duelist characters.
I have great news. The players are in the lobby. The game has started, and we have our ban and protect underway. Hella, get out of the game. Jake, what are we seeing?
Wolverine.
It's gonna be
Loki.
Loki. I mean, they felt that the double Luna Snow ultimate is too strong. And I also, for what it's worth, I do think on Shin Shibuya, you can deal with the Wolverine much more reasonably. Like, you don't necessarily have to mirror it. I think Royal Palace to me was like, I'm pretty sure from what I just saw, you need to be playing Wolverine, like with what Leaf did to them. But the Groot's gonna make it through as well. So two heroes that were banned out in the previous series. We're already seeing a shift here on Shin Shibuya.
I do think there's like a really powerful ultimate with Groot and Namor, right? There's sort of your strangling roots are going to hold people in place, and if you horn a Proteus onto that, it's disgusting. You can combo it with like Meteor M and other abilities like that. So that immobilization, that root's very powerful, giving you access to that crowd control. Also on these convergence maps, like constantly spawning these walls and breaking up the formation of the defending team is super troll. And if you're attacking, it also lets you shrug off a lot of the pokes. So you've got to ban the Namor here, because you've seen that group protect.
Okay, so you're not going to have that combo. Jake, I do have a challenge, though. As this is our inaugural broadcast, if you do see an alt combo, I need some unique names. Would the Namor combo with Groot be like Choking Whale? I got Rooted and Booted. I got nothing. You let us know, chat.
Like
what do you
Rooted
got
and
for
Booted.
us? Jake, it's time to get into the game. Uber, I'll let you two take it away.
Thank you very much, Puckett. Yes, map 2 of the series will be Shin Shibuya, of course, a convergence map where we've seen our bans already, our protects also. Curious to now to see Groot obviously make their way into the game, Jake, as someone who's really good at sort of controlling space just by breaking up vision. And what most people tend to forget when they're playing against Groot is that his walls take on a life of their own once he is close to them and actually can actively be involved in combat. You've got to break him. You've got to respect him.
Yeah, another factor for the group, one thing I've seen, it's not a team up in game, but it's a potent combo that's been used in some of the previous tournaments, is Groot and Moon Knight. And what that combo allows you to do, right, with the Groot ultimate, grabbing everybody, locking them down, pulling them together, Moon Knight's ultimate has like the highest sustained DPS in the game in an AoE, and you can actually kill through something like the Luna Snow ultimate with just raw damage and pump that AoE. But right now we're going to see Team Peps take a strange portal into the enemy backline. So Luminosity, they're playing, I think, a more aggressive variant of the comp now with Psylocke and Star-Lord. So we're going to see them try to potentially dive on this forward position.
LG are ready for this. We actually might see Shu switch to a different tank here. They duck back into spawn. Yeah, okay. So Teemo going to be rather on the Venom. So Team Peps have managed to get into this small side room. Now, that's only part of the issue. They do need to get out. We'll notice we've got a Psylocke here for Naga. Crook is still playing the Mantis, so might be valuing that ability to CC and, hit that sleep down on people, just like we've seen here. Teemo is pretty susceptible. I mean, Venom pretty susceptible in general to crowd control. Now they've used their shield, they've got to double back to the point here. Peps, going to take a while to get out of this room, Jake.
With this Bucky Wolverine, they're looking to grab and pull them in. Oh, just barely couldn't get that Magneto through the window. That was pretty scary. I mean, the threat of this double pull with Wolverine Bucky is exactly what Team Peps are going to be looking for to break this first point open.
Okay. Leaf here out in the open takes a bit more damage than he otherwise would have liked to, but he does note that the Venom is close by. Another Feral League connection here. Trust me, trying to get through the door, but he's been body blocked and sliced to pieces. Somehow he's alive. He's barely hanging on, but Naka has already fallen. So Luminosity down to only 5 players. Crook has got that Soul Resurgence online, so brings it into play now. Overshield active for the remaining members of Luminosity. Destroyed, of course, has managed to build up that ultimate as well, and he's going to try and flank this small room, but it's dangerous for a Star-Lord to get in here, especially with Invisible Woman giving healing to everybody around that shield. It's a real staging ground here for Team Peps. It'll be hard to shift them out of, especially now.
Yeah, Luna Snow coming out with the dance floor, keeping everybody alive. Now continuing the aggression for Team Peps. I mean, Luminosity were forced into a defensive strategist ultimate, and Team Peps are now pulling the trigger, playing their advantage aggressively. More ultimates coming available, though, so Luminosity are going to double down, try to fight with the pickoff from Destroyed. It seems like this could be a defense starting to work, but they have to stay on the point. Team Peps with so much capture progress already.
Now, Invisible Boundary was in play, but look at this. Feast of the Abyss from Trust Me has a burst damage component that also makes the Venom more durable. So Trust Me's able just to stand around here and start to flatten people. The backline under a lot of pressure, a brief stun there, but here's the Kraken impact, and Hardest has already found one. Here come the resets, trying to chase Fate down, but they've been able to slip away from the time being. Do get the freeze on Hardest. They might have had a reset for themselves already there. It's unclear. Galactic Legend also popped there for Naga. Or rather the Star-Lord, of Destroyed. His Luminosity fight Peps back.
Yeah, Luminosity with the more mobile duelist comp now are proving to be too difficult for Team Peps to catch with this pull combo deck. The Wolverine hasn't been able to find those fights that he's been looking for, and that's a big hold for Luminosity. Team Peps only 1 minute left on the attack. They've got to make this one count.
Okay, we're going to break the wall down. This will allow Peps to get in, of course, without having to use another portal. Messi, though, Dance of the Butterfly being used there by Naga. Is there healing for Peps in play? They can't quite withstand it. It's destroyed. Is also able to add that blaster damage to the mix. It ends up being a trade, though. Trust Me does go down. So the defenders have lost that sort of mobility piece to get into and harass the backline of Peps. And Switch has come back, of course, with a fate of both worlds. Meteor M on deck as well for Shu.
And they're being pushed off the point. They've got to touch. So much progress here for Team Peps. They're trying to brawl out under these strategist ultimates on the point. That's a huge pickoff by the Magneto. Shuts down the Invisible Woman ult. Team Peps trying to battle back with a few more ults of their own, but Luminosity potentially starting to stabilize. No, the cap goes against them. They can't stay on the point. And Team Peps are going to at least get this cart rolling despite the fight continuing to rage.
And you can see how different the game looks now that there's not a Loki in play. You've got to rely on another healing ultimate, right? For Luminosity, they're trying to go for the Mantis and making use of Soul Resurgence. Natlox is the one that himself is using that invisible boundary, which is pretty darn good in a pinch. Jake, it forces the defending team inside of that ultimate to deal with the healing disparity lest they give up the point. And that's ultimately what happened there. LG just couldn't stick on that point and were forced away, I think, by a fate of both worlds. So we are technically on the road here, but LG fight doggedly and even leave this Psylocke in a flanking position as Peps are going to have to deal with Naga at some point.
Yeah, Luminosity, though, the fact that they're able to generally win the fight, even though they lost the point, means they're still in control of this part of the map, and they're not giving up an inch of card push for free here.
Hardest, though, does have Kraken Impact at the ready. Decent amount of damage as Trust Me comes on in. It's a Galactic Legend being popped now once more from Destroyed. They're going a little bit low. Bionic Arm's going to be able to catch onto the Venom here. Trust Me into the backline, but blown up by Rosterstern. Those headshots are no joke. Hardest is far from done. Resets now on that Kraken Impact as Crook also going to fall. Remember, getting an opponent to that health threshold will give the resets, and Hardest can continue to lay the pain down. Nothing like a little bit of a Winter Soldier snowball to get you on the road.
Yeah, that's exactly what they needed there. Caught on the low ground, able to find all those final blows from Hardest. Team Peps putting this composition together. We talked about this as their signature style, and I've said this map is more difficult to pull it off on, but they're making it work, right? They're keeping the fight into these low grounds, into the small rooms, and really playing around their strongest point on the map. I think that's really impressive for them. Shows a great understanding of the comp, even on a more difficult map to execute.
This is also, Jake, where Wolverine looks a bit more reasonable. Leaf can perch up on the high ground and almost like curve one of those dives, but it's not necessary. So Destroyed goes down to a tainted voltage. By the looks of things, Dance of the Butterfly will be nullified by Switch's fate of both worlds, and Naga will have to retreat back up to the high ground. Luminosity now, player disadvantage. Trust Me stunned up, going down. Leak was able to abduct the Venom, apparently. And a Meteor M for Rajaru. He's going to hold on to it for the time being. They're stunned up, though, by the choking vines, and Crook goes down. Hardest is knocking them down as the rest of Peps set them up. Leaf gets involved and deals with another tank, and LG are in trouble.
Yeah, Groot is able to have so much impact in these fights with the strategist ultimates, right? Even though you're being healed and kept alive, Groot's still zoning players away, denying them participating in the fight. And that's really mitigating some of these strategist ultimates that Luminosity's committing. They come again with the Mantis ultimate, trying to force something out, trying to get a response, but Invisible Woman still has the ultimate, and so position strong for Team Peps as they fight on the point.
Yeah, LG have to like fight on the fringes awkwardly of this invisible boundary or go in themselves. It's scary. Crook down, so you're one strategist down for LG, and they're going to have to rely on Fate's healing for the time being. Rajaro tries to hit a Meteor M, but it's too low, and the bulwark is not going to be enough to keep them standing. Destroyed can really only look on now as we are into overtime and close to that first checkpoint here. I like it. He attempts to go in with the E, but he's at 15 health and counting. Somehow, Timo wasn't able to connect with him, but I'm seeing Switch with the Lunar Snow ultimate, and that means the Team Peps are in a great position to push up. Now, Luminosity trying to stall, stagger, and buy themselves some time, but it's very likely this checkpoint is going to be picked up by the French squad.
They're going for it with the Lunar Snow ultimate, though, trying to double down, trying to keep this fight going, making the full hold there. Spawns are very close, so this is winnable, but Wolverine ready to ult if he does need it, able to pull the Magneto through the portal. Oh my god, away from the point. I don't think he even knew that was going to happen. Now, the brawl point continues, and the lack of ultimates for Luminosity is going to be too much, I think, for this hold. Team Peps, 3 kills, 4, and they're starting to clean up here on the objective.
I mean, yeah, that portal abduction, I don't know. I don't know if that was intentional or not. It might have purely been used, I think, for Shu to get back to the fight quickly. I think there's like a portal, then like a switch, but if that wasn't the case, I think that Rajaro just got taken to Peps' spawn room with that dive, which is nutty stuff. But Jake, as the dust settles, it was Luminosity in like a 3-4v6, trying to use it Luminosity ultimate. It just felt like a matter of time, and they were just trying to stall, but they were in overtime already.
Yeah, and LG's struggling. What I'm worried about now is, on this third point of the map, as I say that, Legendary is popped, immediately countered though by the Invisible Woman ult. Yeah, you can lock on, but you're not going to be able to really pump damage through this. So a 1-for-1 response. Team Peps continuing to push the cart though through the fight.
Okay, that's a great follow-up on the dive though from the Venom. Destroyed, finally able to get in some value. Natlox and Leaf both falling, and this is a rare moment where Peps just don't have a big strategist ultimate to make use of. Now, finally, Luminosity can get into gear, and they've played a lot of clock over the course of Shin Shibuya already, Jake. Only 30 seconds left for Peps to get to the end of the map, and that last stretch is a doozy for attackers.
Yeah, and Luminosity are looking to set up, go early, and attack on this rotation. They don't want to let Team Peps get to these little rooms where they're so effective. Here in the open, they can be flanked from all sides, and already Magneto starting to put the pressure down. HP is dropping for Team Peps, and they don't want to ult this early on the map, but they might need to. That's a strategist down already, and this could be a team wipe here. Luminosity swarming over Team Peps.
Yeah, Peps have had a chance to make use of that fate of both worlds, Jake, in this. No time really left in the round. Now you just go for it. Galactic Legend at the ready once again for Destroyed, and this time there are no big ultimates to interrupt Star-Lord's reign. Well, I say that, but here comes the fate of both worlds here. Switz was able to get onto the point in time, and so Destroyed is going to have to wait. But Peps are in overtime, and I love this idea. Get to the backline. Hardest is trying to rejoin the fray, and this is going to draw Switch out of position. Destroyed, able to find the punish as both strategists fall down to the Star-Lord pressure. These are moments in which you can get value on this particular hero, and Destroyed is giving us a masterclass.
Found the way through, and with the strategist ultimates running dry, seems to be too little too late. Team Peps coming through the strange portal though, trying to desperately stagger this one out, get another inch or two of cart push, but they can't find anything. And Luminosity make the hold on third point. They've got a win condition now, but this is a tough point to push. We've seen a lot of teams full held on first point here on Shin Shibuya, so this is far from a free win for Luminosity.
And it's hard to see towards the end of the map is where the defenders are actually given a lot more safe and easy high ground access. And Peps were just forced to filter in from that low ground here, and you could see how stretched they were. Switch was trying to heal half of the team with that ultimate, but the stragglers, the reinforcements coming back in, Destroyed heads straight in their direction and just pops that ultimate, immediately gives them a headache. And you can see what the Invisible Woman, right, is definitely adding a bit of a different flavor now. It is another ultimate outside of the healing Jake, which is just sick. That cuts off line of sight for a Star-Lord, during Galactic Legend. So it completely shuts down that ultimate unless Destroyed wants to actually dive into that ultimate to be able to see people.
Yeah, which even if you can, right, just the damage isn't really quite enough. You need a lot of additional focus fire from your team. I mean, I think the Star-Lord ultimate is one of the best in the game when there's no strategist ultimate to counter and you're just kind of eating up the enemy backline. But the lack of burst damage in the ultimate means it's not a huge threat if you've got something like Luna Snow or Mantis, Invisible Woman. Really, any of the strategist ultimates probably is going to tank through that continuous damage from Destroyed.
Good hold, and I think a lot of that, Jake, came from Luminosity being able to buy or bleed a lot of clock on that convergence point before the payload started to get moving. Can they break through Peps faster? Pretty standard stuff here to set up a strange teleporter, but where? Into that same back room again? Not quite. A little bit further back, a little more safe, but Peps should have a read on this, should expect this to be happening.
Yeah, this is pretty popular meta here on Shin Shibuya, as to, take the first fight from behind. Trust me, is going to go back to the Venom and attack from, the traditional attacker perspective, come in on his team. Right now, Team Peps out on the point, but I don't know that they're going to be able to stay here for long with the high ground pressure. The challenge, though, is for Luminosity to come contest the point without getting caught by this Bucky.
It's all good for Peps, though. They're going to jump in and out of that side room, right? Big hit there. Nicely done. Trust me. Gets a massive knockup with this Venom. And it's Destroyed getting closer to that ultimate. But saw the bionic arm there, if I'm not mistaken, from Leaf, caused a bit of disruption. Rajaro definitely needs to respect the damage output here that Peps have access to. And the Groot walls here for Peps, trying to buy themselves a little bit of space. Naga gets in, though. And those crossbow bolts do connect. Timo is down, but trust me, he's traded out. And Destroyed is waiting for Peps to move out into the open. So we can go for this play. Galactic Legend going to be instantly counted out, though, by that invisible boundary. And Destroyed, all of a sudden, has to back way up.
Yeah, it does grind out, though, one of those strategist ultimates, and with a lot of cap pressure for Luminosity, they're being very patient, hunting and pecking at this Team Peps defense. Naga now in here, diving into the backline, forces the second strategist ultimate. Luminosity have their own, and to double down, there's nothing left here for Team Peps in terms of strategist ultimates to stay alive on the point. 2 will be available for Luminosity, so they have a huge advantage in holding this point.
Beast of the Abyss, but trust me, could be a big one. It does have a little bit of burst damage of a component that could hit pretty hard. Shu's forced out in the open here. He knows he needs to be the token defense, but he gets brought down by Rajaro. Absolutely merciless is the Finn here and cutting down the opposition. Take it. There it is. Big value with that Meteor and Rajaro flattens Switch and Leaf, and Luminosity are going to have this point and ready to get on the road awfully quick by comparison.
And Luminosity are showing what they can do with this composition, right? On a map type and a situation where they're less cut out by that Wolverine not being punished so quickly into the fight, you know, you're giving Naga and Sestroid a little bit more time to work, and they're showing you what you can do.
Again, we can see like there's almost a transactional element to how that fight went, Jake. How many of these strategist ultimates can we force out without duelist ultimates and still win? That was dirty. Man Cannon catches Crook out as Luminosity aren't quite in formation. Peps able to find a nice pick, and Shu is getting close to another Meteor M themselves. This gets a little bit messy. Hardest now is going to go for Galactic Legend. Is there anything to shut this down? Naga's so dirty. Hits him with a standard crossbow bolt. Garden variety stuff from the Psylocke to end the Star-Lord.
Yeah, Rajaro as well hit the mini stun from that Magneto to push him and deny him a little bit damage. The follow-up was instant, and that's some of the risk of Star-Lord. He pumps damage, but he is potentially vulnerable in that ultimate. Team Peps again forced into a very defensive strategist ultimate. The response from Magneto, Team Peps trying to double down, trying to continue this fight, but Legendary is too oppressive here. Team Peps are forced into the small room. They cannot stay on the objective, and the cart's rolling here.
Shu, without that bulwark, would have died instantly there to that Galactic Legend. Here it comes, Feast of the Abyss.
Oh.
Bam! Trust me, gets 2 for 1 with that ability. Again, the healing resources of Peps so taxed that now the Venom's able to run rough shot over them. Switch has this Fate of Both Worlds right now, but it doesn't feel all that impactful this late. Trust me, has shields for days. First from the Feast of the Abyss. Secondly, of course, from that E. The lower you are, the more shield you get. It's something you've got to be aware of when you're trying to take Venom on.
And Team Peps, they went for the Eye of Agamotto there. Big risk, and it doesn't pay off. They are going to swap back to the Venom, but Luminosity with a pretty significant ult bank, charging forward to the end of this second point. And this is a very difficult fight that Team Peps are facing, and pretty much the map on the line right now. Luminosity aren't going to give them the opportunity to even set up. They're diving straight into the back line. They're really pushing the tempo on this dive comp.
Okay, here comes Destroyed. Shu flattened. I am loving this turn of pace from Luminosity. It's absurd how different the game looks now when it's not being sort of predicated on what Wolverine can do. Hardest does not want any of that smoke, bro. He is boosting on out of there. Destroyed has cleared the way for Luminosity and has dealt with a potentially pesky flanker. But into the next fight, Leaf does have that Kraken impact. Peps needs something big here to turn the tides. And trust me, it's such a nuisance. Another Feast of the Abyss available now. Galactic Legend's going to come in from Hardest. It has to be big. Kraken impact from Leaf. What can Peps do to stop Luminosity in their tracks? Not a whole lot against this Fate of Both Worlds, Jake. There is so much healing for LG. And they combine it here with even more. That's an invisible barrier getting thrown up by Natlocks here, but it doesn't seem to have slowed Luminosity down very much at all.
Yeah, they're buying time here on the point. Stalling it out close to their spawn is big, but Legendary online here for Destroyed, starting to carve out the backline and finds the kill on Magneto just before the Stratus ultimate could get to him. Losing a crucial Vanguard is going to make this more difficult for Team Peps. They do still have that Venom ultimate available to deploy if they want to recommit. It's Luminosity's turn, though, to go back in with the help of that Mantis. And with the Strategist ultimate, it's a little bit of overwhelming pressure right now. Team Peps struggling to stay on the cart, struggling to hold down this defensive position.
Yeah, that Soul Resurgence for Crook could be crucial, but they're under a lot of pressure, and Teemo's actually finally able to get in and deal with the backline. Even with the threat, the CC and the sleep, they're able to break through it. Rajaro trying to swing that big iron and stop Teemo, but this Venom is out of control. Finally, Peps get a stop, and honestly, we've only got about a minute left in the game. LG have a Dance of the Butterfly coming up and a Meteor M to work with, Jake. They're going to have to make use of those to try and end the map.
Natlock's already to 95% to the next ultimate. This Invisible Woman is farming so hard, charging the ultimate so quickly. I don't think Luminosity are going to expect this. If they go with that signature ultra aggression, they have a couple more seconds, but I think the Invisible Woman's going to be able to defend. And Team Peps, that was a heroic defense. I mean, that fight was really difficult for them in terms of the ult bank.
And they've got an invisible boundary here as well. This is huge, especially against their Dance of the Butterfly. Destroyed's already down. Hardest is able to pick him off, and that is perfect for Peps. What a time, Jake, to stabilize in the best way possible. Leaf has also since switched back to the Wolverine, right? So Luminosity now have to deal with that. The last stand is available, but with 15 seconds left, you may as well chase down some of these kills and try to stagger them out. Hardest doesn't overextend, though. Luminosity have maybe half a decent fight here. They're desperately trying to get back in position.
Yeah, they have one more big shot at this with another ultimate advantage. Last
Triple
time it
Vanguard.
wasn't enough. Hold on. Strange from the backline, though, TPing behind, complicating this fight for Team Peps as they try to defend.
Jake, Naga had to switch to Strange just to get the portal. It gave the triple Vanguard effect here, but who's great against those? It's Wolverine. Naga gets instantly punished for switching over to that Vanguard, taken down. Trust me, he's able to find that corrosive connection here onto one of those, and switch is down as well. Peps have run out of gas here, and Luminosity finally come up with the goods. They go for it. They make the portal play here with Naga switching back to the Psylocke, and they're going to get themselves through this part of the map, but they're not done yet.
Yeah, they have to make a bit more push, but remember, their defense at this part of the map was so strong. This is going to be an awkward place for Team Peps to fight. They don't get to make use of this final room. This is really the last stronghold of the defending team. They've got to come out on the streets phase, as Luminosity was able to successfully do, but could be difficult here with the Wolverine.
Luminosity, though, have got the tools they need. Namely, the Lunar Snow ultimate and a Meteor M here to burst some people down. Also, it's not terrible to throw inside an invisible boundary, but that's a bit of a gamble at times. Timo dives in, stunned up briefly, still going to have access to about 1,000 shielding when they're nice and low. So it will be the threat of the Venom shutdown for now, but there's a Wolverine in the backline. Trust me, does get picked off. Hardest is able to CC and shut down that dive.
Yeah, but the Venom did pull enough attention to get the cart rolling forward a bit. So Luminosity going to slow the fight down. Their spawn is right here, remember. So losing a hero here and there is not going to be too costly. It's Team Peps, they're constantly looking, chasing after all these flankers. Luminosity hunting and pecking from all sides. This is a very high pressure situation for Team Peps.
25 seconds left. Kraken Impact at the ready for Hardest if he needs to shut something down. But here comes the Psylocke. That's a little bit scary. It's going to have to be a fate of both worlds here. Out of Fate themselves and invisible boundary, from Natlock. So big support ultimate for both sides. And now the Dance of the Butterfly comes in as Naga thinks he's found a window of no healing. And he might be right. Shu gets brought down as they were going for a Meteor Rim. And that Kraken Impact is causing all sorts of problems. Fate is down. Hardest trying to play it safe here. Look for resets, but it gets caught out by Trust Me. Destroyed is actually the one that's able to bring down the Winter Soldier. And Timo is so healthy in such a good spot. But Destroyed over on the card is trying to shove it forward now, dealing with Natlocks, and there's no backline. Peps have to walk a long way out of spawn to stop this card, and I don't know if Shu can get there. Burst down, and Luminosity takes Shin Shibuya.
Evening up the series 1-1, Mitch. We've got a series on our hands. We talked about this being a must-win map for Luminosity. It was close, but they were able to deliver. Still, though, I got to give it to Team Peps, man. Some of those fights that were so difficult for them with very few ultimates, they're still able to clutch up. So I think on maps where this Wolverine and Hardest with the Bucky are able to be effective and be dominant, I think this is a pretty scary comp to look at. Destroyed, though, dropping almost 40k damage. That is absurd on the Star-Lord.
I mean, look at some of these healing numbers. They're a little bit out of head. I mean, Switch with 62k.
No, just 62,000 heals. It's yeah, this is normal. That's don't you heal that much in every game, Mitch?
Not cool. I honestly, a little bit more at the 30k level here. Obviously, Crook, showing us what the metas can do, I think, in terms of having that CC, but also subtly empowering some of those teammates, to hit just a little bit harder. It's something that it's not always easy to see the impact of, but it's definitely one of the reasons why you want to bring Manus in, even if some have said in the past that she's fallen out of favor, fallen out of the meta a little bit. That subtle impact has been probably a really big difference maker.
Gentlemen, awesome stuff from Luminosity. I was getting a little bit worried for them, and then all of a sudden they're able to capture that second point. Jake, this is a snowball game, and they just rolled it through. Can we start, though, with the Mantis pick? This is something we've seen from Crook in Map 1 and now Map 2. Is this purely to counter the Wolverine, or are they trying to figure out what other strategists they can put on the map?
I mean, I think they really believe in the comp, and I don't think Mantis is weak in the end, right? Like, the ultimate still is incredibly powerful, sustain, keeps everybody up, allows people to dive in super aggressively. But I think in general, it speaks to Luminosity's game plan, their approach right now to Marvel Rivals. They really want to emphasize the duelists, like their ability to flank and hit from all sides and just poke away at you until you give up a free kill. So yeah, like maybe the ultimate fights aren't quite as dominant as something like Loki and Luna Snow, being able to stabilize through everything. But at the same time, there's more playmaking potential in the low ulti fights.
As we take a look at some of the best moments from this game, awesome stuff from production. This is day one, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, we are now up and running on the YouTube, so hit that subscribe button. You can get all of the VODs instantly after the matches. I thought we were going to see some full holds potentially at the start of this game. It starts to drag out. Now seeing Destroyed and what he can do on the Star-Lord with Naga comboing on the Psylocke. Is Luminosity more dangerous than what you thought after map 1, Uber?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Map 1 is a tough one. It definitely feels like Luminosity never really get going. And again, once you get control of one of those domination points and then you have like, a metric buttload of healing, the capturing first point first is so much more important, I think, in this game than maybe some others, because it's really hard to shift you off. Here, though, I think we get to see like where you can find windows where the Star-Lord can get value. It's not about assuming 100% of the time your opponents are going to have, those big healing ultimates. You do find opportunities. And even if they're in play, right, even if there is like a Fate of Both Worlds active, there are opportunities to try and go for players that aren't currently inside that field. You don't always need this from Majaro, which was awesome. If you group up in that side room and you're suffering against a Meteor M, you're probably going to get blown to smithereens here. Notice a ball walk being given to Destroyed there, able to go in and get just some absurd amount of damage. I think as time goes on as well, you're probably going to see a lot of these strategies looked at, and maybe sort of will see these big ultimates come out less frequently. And so players with skill sets like Destroyed are only going to find more and more success because there are going to be more pronounced windows in which to go in for that burst damage, to go in for those assassinations and give your team the player advantage.
Hardest with some nice plays of his own. The Star-Lord gets revenge after being shut down by Loki, the copycatting Luna. It's been fun so far, and it's only going to spice up from here. The French get map picked next. Jake, what's in their wheelhouse? What plays to the comp they love to run?
I mean, as this map was so close, right? And we look at the map score and we say, okay, it's an even series from here. But you have to imagine, if we take this to another domination map, another close quarters situation where Leaf can play the Wolverine, maybe that swings this right back in Pep's favor. Like, this was a 200-0 domination map. Like, that's way more than you would expect, even for a dominant win with teams of high caliber. You'd have expected Luminosity to flip the point here and there when they get the ultimate tempo in their favor, but not so. So I mean, based on map 1, I just feel like probably Peps are going to take us back to domination. But this is also an opportunity for Peps. If they've got anything else they've cooked up in the lab, you can kind of take us wherever you want now. So this is the opportunity for teams to show us what they've been working on, what they've been scrimming, where they feel they are the most effective. This is our chance for Peps to really set their identity as a team and show what they've got.
Yeah, Hell's Heaven or Burning Chala, 2 map opportunities here. I think you can take us to, if you want to obviously get us into a control map. I do think these comps are really interesting because in the past we've seen Vanguards picked that really sort of fulfill the same sort of purpose in game. So you're playing a point comp, you take Double Shield, you take Strange and Magneto. Really, standard, very strong setup. Sometimes you see like the Hulk mixed in there as well because that team up's very powerful. But now we're seeing like an anchor tank. And, then someone who can die, right? We're seeing a Venom that wants to, start to harass in the backline and actually join up with someone like a Star-Lord or a Psylocke and give your team this dive component as well. So you have, a more static core of your team that's going to maybe be playing around the Magneto who really just wants to take that space slowly. And then you've got, some of your duelists that go in with the Venom on the other side. You're almost playing 2 styles at once. And because obviously, 6 players, you can obviously have your healers split their attention between them. I also think that one of the reasons why I'm seeing a lot of Mantis is because she can, over time, heal that Venom while they're going in, for that dive. And, the healing lasts for quite a decent duration, enough time that the Venom can then use the shield, buy more time, come on back and get more healing from the Mantis. So it does give you that flexibility. Mantis is pretty good, at healing those dive tanks as they come back for a pit stop.
As a former Doomfist, Venom is right up my gameplay strategy. I want to get in there, have a button that just saves me. I can instantly get all of my health back and then swing out with no problem. Jake, you've protected it twice, though, if you're Luminosity. Peps and their coaching staff has to be onto this, right? Does Luminosity fall apart if you remove Venom from their composition?
I mean, it's a fair point. I do think Venom is the best in the game in terms of that exact role of like holding the attention of the enemy team, assisting duelists as they come in and hit from the sides. And that has been right in the wheelhouse that Luminosity has been playing for every game. At the same time, Peps also has been using the Venom to great effect. They're a little bit less committed on the dives and using the Venom more for something called vision aggro. A lot of players at home might be familiar with damage and stuns, control, things like that. pretty straightforward concepts. But at this level of play, it's also critically important to just distract the opponent. So a lot of times for Peps, when they're going with the Venom, it's less all in of a commitment. They're not necessarily expecting to get kills on that dive, but they're forcing resources. They're forcing attention. They're able to maybe hold the objective a little bit longer. And so I do think both teams, although they have different stylistic preferences, they're both using the Venom well. So I have to imagine for Team Peps, you could bend it out thinking Luminosity needs this more than we do. At the same time, I think it's also reasonable for Peps to think, hey, like we're both getting value out of this. We're just approaching it in different ways. And Peps, I don't think they should lose faith in the strategy they've shown so far. The series is 1-1, and you got to think map 2, extremely close. Map 1, extremely dominant for Team Peps. Like if I'm the coaching staff, I'm the players on Peps, I say, you know what? It can happen. Shinchibuya is not our map. Just keep running it. Our strat is going to win this series.
Uber, I wanted to know, after watching 2 maps, where does Leaf stack up with Luminosity's Duelist without Wolverine? Because he had to switch off the Wolverine a few times during that last map.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see if they actually picked up the Star-Lord and tried to go with something like that. But that was actually hardest that had sort of picked that up here. So I haven't seen enough really of Leaf's hero pool outside of that to sort of say. I think that Wolverine definitely feels like a bit of a specialist hero right now, Puckett, in that like, you know, some teams have those players that are just incredible Wolverines, and it's a skill set that can be a little bit awkward to pick up because there are a lot of minutiae, a lot of small bits of tech you got to understand if you're going to be able to abduct people, you know, adequately. So I'm gonna sort of delay that judgment until we see maybe a bit more, maybe Midtown as the map where we get to see a bit more of that hero pool.
I want to see more Bucky. That's all I'm saying, Jake. Big shout out to the Great Gator in the chat. Long time no see, friend. He says, great stream quality. It's insane. Well done, Hexagrams, Solomon, ZP, and everyone behind the scenes. I'm having a great time. If you're just joining us, we are going into map 3, and you can see it's Midtown. So we're going to see maybe some more Invisible Woman, I assume, Jake. Will we see more Mantis on this map?
I mean, Luminosity have been committed to the strategy so far. I do think for Team Peps, though, if we're saying about Leaf, I mean, we've seen a really impressive Wolverine from him, but I feel like historically, knowing, you know, Leaf as a player, being successful in the genre previously, I just feel like he's not going to be a limited player. You know, he's not all in on the Wolverine. He brings the heat on that character. It's a very serious threat, but he's not scared to swap off and bring something else if he needs to. He's got the mechanical skill, the aim skill to play some of these more conventional aim heroes. That being said, though, I think for Luminosity, if you force him off that Wolverine, at least now the ball is in your court. Like you kind of, for Luminosity, you want this game to be all about aim, all about, you know, these high mobility duelists. That's what they've chosen to pick. That's their strong suit. And so I think if they can get kind of a mirror match in that style, they're going to be generally happy.
We're going to have our player protective bands coming up in just a moment. We have Nevix, who's going to be featured in our next match. He's playing for Virtus Pro, currently scouting out the competition. Shout out to Gigalord. I'm here to root against the French. Aren't we all? Unless, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, do not include me in that.
Fans in the chat.
Carmine Core, I didn't mean it. It was a Reddit clip. I was joking.
Just that guy.
Peps, I don't parlez-vous français. Let's talk a little bit about Midtown, though, and what we see coming, as this is going to be Peps' pick. So, Uber, I'm Peps. This is my playground. What are you excited about as a caster? Who's the player you want eyes on?
Okay, yeah, so I want to see what Trust Me can do here if they are going to play the Venom. This is the kind of map where there are some parts that are easy to play that dive style. The second phase of the map, not so much. It's a tunnel that goes down and then up. So I'm curious to see how they adapt to that.
No Loki. Okay, so this I think we're going to see throughout the rest of the series. Without Loki, that enables the Star-Lord, right? You won't have the back-to-back Luna ults. There's the Protect on Venom once again. Do we see a Groot?
This is a very choked out map, though. I honestly think, okay, the Namor comes out. I think this is exactly what Hardest wants on the Namor. I mean, there was this really impressive, and you got to think with Luminosity constantly loving to play the double flanking duelist, Namor is really the perfect hero to shut it down. I'd be curious if we don't see potentially a Luna Snowband to deny the team up. You've already taken the Loki, so there's not going to be a double dance floor, but at the same time, maybe you want to block the team up now that Namor's been protected.
I don't mind
Get
that.
rid of the cold squid.
Yeah, obviously, like one half of, you know, you might want to secure Luna Snow here to get a good team up, you know, with the Namor. So that might be a consideration. But banning out at that point, like a total of 3 strategists, which is. Pardon?
No.
Okay. No ban.
I've seen this
ban. All right. Yeah, I've seen teams elect not to ban.
Like, we're good with this.
I feel like
I'm down
generally
to have
this is a
Luna.
mistake. I generally think like surely there's something you could ban, right? Like I've seen teams do it before, and maybe they just don't know what to ban. That they don't want to take something out that they might need to use. But like something like Wolverine, exactly. It's just such an obvious, like why not? We've seen how annoying Leaf can be on that. Midtown is, I think a map where Wolverine could work. There's a lot of corners, a lot of tight angles where Wolverine can be kind of camping on some piece of cover and grab you as soon as you swing the corner.
Wild stuff. Chat, once again, we love the French here on Marvel's Rivals Fight Night. Please go ahead and drop the follow button. We are live on YouTube as well. Hit the subscribe. This is night 1, and we are just getting started. Match number 1 of 4 coming up next. Finzi, the great Icelandic champion, puts his record on the line in a $1,000 matchup against the winner of this one. Team Peps has been in control. Can they take the lead back? We hand the mic over to Uber Jake.
Thank you very much. Pocket straight away, of course. We are likely to have a teleporter set up. This is a Trust Me TP. They're on defense right now, so we'll see what the actual plan was supposed to be with that one.
This yes, okay. TT is a classic, actually. Oh.
So it's the backside of the. They can they not walk through that?
This is 50. I don't think you can get out. Like the fact that these are pro players, if they're not finding a way out, there's no other way out. Like they just wait it out. That might need to be looked at the patch, though. That's a little ridiculous.
That is extremely cheeky from Trust Me. Okay, and put it past Luminosity to go for something like that. Either way, we're going to take the high ground here, and I want to point out we do have the Magneto and the Groot set up here for Peps. So do they want to take the high ground? Because again, it's equally accessible to attackers as it is defenders here. You just don't want to get rained down on by this poke damage, especially with Namor on the other side of the field now. So much of this fight should happen across this bridge.
And Luminosity have just made a complete 180. We talked about them being this like dive team. They're always going to dive in. They're always going to, play this high-paced comp. Now they've 180 to 100% into a very heavy poke comp with the Bucky and the Namor. I think this is the reason they didn't ban this Wolverine. They want Leaf to play Wolverine. They have monstrous amounts of poke and peel from these duelists. It's going to be much more difficult for Leaf to get in this kind of lineup that Luminosity are defending with.
Yeah, look, Trust Me can just take to the skies if there's any threat, and Leaf doesn't even bother going for a feral leap there. Didn't have enough cooldown anyway. Now though, he'll try it, and Trust Me, okay, has a bulwark applied to them, but it expires. Oh, just kept in midair for just long enough. Hardest is able to find the final blow there. Destroyed has already built up a Kraken impact though, so there will be an opportunity to go hog wild on them, but an invisible boundary is already ready here for Natlocks. A lot of those key strategies ultimates online for the attackers here, and my goodness, Luminosity getting bowled over.
That's such a ridiculous pick from Leaf, and as much as Luminosity, I think we're letting that Wolverine through, thinking, we're gonna peel this out. We'll deal with it. I think Trust Me's like, guys, maybe we made a mistake after that first fight.
Yeah, again, I mean, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face or stabbed with adamantium claws, I suppose. Trust Me, a very short-lived stint out there trying to contest this payload, and it will be Team Peps that get the time extension. 1 checkpoint to their name, and we are far from done. These Groot walls make it hard for Rajaro to back away, and they will take a faceful of poke damage. Leaf comes in there from Leaf. They go quite low. Bulwark has to be used to get Rajaro standing. And while there have been no knockouts here, Team Peps have made a heck of a lot of space into this second phase, Jake.
Yeah, and this Namor able to hold on to the flank. That bubble already used. Pretty risky move. Caught. Doesn't have the defense. Oh, does get saved by the strategist, though. Great awareness from Luminosity.
Well, there would have been some serious burst damage coming down. Here's Team Odo in the thick of things. Strangling prison available, but not necessary as the living walls go to work. Destroyed gets brought down. This is Team Peps here continuing to work off the head of thing they built earlier. Nice mag cannon from Rajaro does actually get rid of the invisible woman here for Peps. They've got to go with that Natlocks now, but Swish has that healing ultimate. Fate of Both Worlds comes into play, and sort of Horde of Proteus there not really connecting as they'd liked, and Fate gets blown up. That's exactly what you want to see to our Lunar Snow. And Meteor M flattens them.
Naga and Rajaro finding counter pickoffs, but still Team Peps fighting closer to their own spawn. These trading fights are going to slowly start to go their way. Just a matter of Luminosity Gaming stalling this payload as much as they possibly can. Strange Portal getting some more players back into the fight a little bit more quickly. Seems like Team Peps is cleaning up, but Luminosity's making it awkward. It's Destroyed is going to all-in commit here. But he's the last one left fighting. Can he make any more eliminations?
No resets for that Kraken impact here. It's not going to happen. And there it is. Shu able to find the finisher. But of course, it's Leaf coming in with that catch. Now, things get a little bit dicey. We're headed underground, folks. A very claustrophobic part of the map here, and you should expect to see this Eye of Agamotto from Trust Me have no shortage of targets.
Yeah, and there's no defensive ultimates available for Team Pep, so Trust Me has an opportunity to blow this defense wide open, really make a solid hold here in the underground. At the same time, there's always that threat of Leaf's Wolverine to mess up the combo before it can come out.
Okay, here's the Eye of Agamotto over the top. Pushed away. I love the knockback. That's so sick. Beautiful for Natlox. Just diverts, Trust Me. Not able to get purchase on that Eye of Agamotto. That's dirty. Rug pulling Luminosity in the strategy they had to win the fight here.
That's massive. Destroyed is back on the Wolverine, so for the first time in the series, we're gonna see a Wolverine mirror trying to challenge Leaf for dominance on the character. A risky play, but they're committing here in this underground, and so many ults being ripped here.
Yeah, Meteor M here coming through, but hardest falls to Trust Me. Oh, buddy, beautifully done. Shoe spots Rajaro in a position where they couldn't throw that screen up to defend themselves. Destroyed gets dug out. The Mad Cannon crucial to disrupt a Wolverine as they try to go to work. And Team Peps have really hardly experienced a break in stride, and that is an invisible boundary. Gets thrown up here for Team Peps, and hey, they make good use of it.
Yeah, that's a nice cleanup for them. They're on to the third phase, and so far it's been pretty much smooth sailing, seeing why they chose Midtown. Luminosity came in with confidence, let the Wolverine through. Now they're taking the mirror on the comp. But Team Peps are getting a lot of value out of the Groot in these fights. It's proving difficult for Luminosity's Vanguards to be able to navigate through all of these strangling walls.
And we're getting now into a bit more of a sort of straightaway, or at least more like closed off streets. Some access to high ground here, but less than you sort of see at the start of the map. This really means that we're having more of a pitched battle. Destroyed looking for a chance to go in. Doesn't quite connect. Oh, okay. Nice bulwark use there. Very clever. Rajaro able to shield Destroyed just when they get a little bit low. But no regenerative healing factor available. It's got a pretty high cooldown, over 30 seconds. And Destroyed goes down to the force physics. There's an Eye of Agamotto, catches Shu and Timo. Frontline stunned up, but honestly, none of the squishy targets affected by that strange ult. And Trust Me, sheepishly, he's going to back away.
Yeah, the Groot wall was able to keep all of the damage follow-up away. Even though Groot himself was stunned, he had already gotten his wall online. So this streets phase is really where Groot can light it up. I mean, look, anytime a Vanguard steps up, they get trapped, pulled in, now kidnapped by Wolverine right into the Strategist ultimate. Luminosity trying to double down with ultimates of their own, but Team Peps have a massive bank to work with. Groot, he's waiting out these Strategist ultimates, looking for the final strangling prison.
I mean, that was used on pretty much just the Wolverine. That's how much Timo values taking Rajaro, or rather Destroyed, out of the game there. Apparently, Meteor M almost claims Crook, but not quite charged up enough. Still, Crook's going to fall, and that is all of the strategists on the side of Luminosity finally brought down with a roar. Team Peps able to break through now and make it very, very hard for Trust Me to get a touch. It will be a map completion for Peps with over a minute left.
Yeah, and for me, Mitch, it's not just the Wolverine difference here with how good Leaf is and clearly, you know, the mastery he's showing on this character. I think it's also, you got to give credit to this Invisible Woman play. You know, for me, Natlox on the Invisible Woman shows a great understanding of the matchup. We saw, you know, in the moment there, Destroyed grabbed somebody, tried to pull the Groot back to his team, but the Invisible Woman, Natlox, was able to pull that player, pull the Groot back away, save him from the kidnapping attempt. And so, you know, that awareness of the matchup, both sides of it, not only are Peps getting more value as aggressors, but they're also denying Destroyed. And I have to wonder, like, is he going to keep trying to play the Wolverine? Feels like he's getting kind of dominated by this awareness of Team Peps of how to focus fire down that character.
I want to point out, look at the top left of the screen. Only 3 heroes banned in this game. Luminosity elect not to make a ban with their third opportunity. They do, as we saw, try and play some of the Wolverine themselves. That was the question. Can we match the impact of Leaf? I think the answer, at least on that defense side, was a resounding absolutely bloody not.
I love this starting spawn here. It's like actually one of the coolest things in gaming that you spawn in this in the portal room as it, you know, elevators down to the fight.
I mean, I wonder if we get these picks are all troll ones, by the way. Unfortunately, we should expect to see.
No, I think they're gonna play Jeff here, Mitch. I'm pretty sure Jeff's
okay. Sure, you know what? I'm here for it. I will be real. Naga though is going to be on the storm, so okay. Obviously, airborne hero, someone who answers the more Wolverine comps really well because they don't have a great way of interacting with her. I guess the more to some degree can try and poke Naga down, but when you have an invisible woman, you can throw a shield up there for Storm, and I'm curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, Naga gonna commit on a specialist hero of his own. Kidnap attempt on Strange seems to be a failure for now. Still has the shield to get out. Getting pummeled, but with the barrier from Magneto, it's going to be enough to get him out. And Team Peps are just bunkering in this corner, proving to be super annoying trying to hold on to this objective.
Yeah, but look, even the Psionic Vortex from Invisible Woman thrown in there, the poke that comes out from Storm. I think Leaf just attempted to kidnap Naga there. Doesn't quite work out. Rajaro low, able to take to the skies though, and that's some really good healing there from Crook, keeping their shield tank in the game. Now we drop back down. That Storm, again, doing consistent damage over the course of this fight, and being able to apply a slow sometimes is really impactful in Marvel Rivals. Shu gets brought down. Eventually, the war of attrition being won out by Luminosity. Now as Peps are down to 5, but Leaf's able to deal with Destroyed. Now we're even in terms of numbers, and Peps don't seem to want to shift off the card. Once again, Leaf is able to abduct the Magneto. Low as they go, able to get that healing when they need it. Now Meteor M in play, though. That's how Trust Me wants to respond, but the connection just isn't there, and there's plenty of healing now. Fate and Crook are both holding onto their ultimates, and Peps need to use one of their own.
Storm ultimate coming in straight into the backline here for Naga, and getting the additional bubble from Magneto. There's no way to stop it. It's a massive cleanup for Naga. Finds 3 eliminations on the play. And Team Peps bunkering in that room, I mean, they are so impressive with how well they can execute that despite the damage pouring in. But this Storm looks to be a kind of a fantastic counter pick against that game style. If you're just going to sit in the room and let Storm pummel you with damage, you're not going to be long for this world with that, you know, Storm's own damage with the aura coming in as well. Team Peps porting right back into a close range engagement.
Okay, TP comes down. Nightlock's going to drop in behind the rest of them, and Peps have a pretty safe haven for their backline to play from. But look at this, Luminosity do see them. Trust me, driving a wedge in between front and back lines here for Team Peps, and it's having an effect. Hardison team are good low. Leaf already got taken down, and Luminosity do deal with this scrappy attempt at a re-engage from Peps. Rujaro holds on to an Eye of Agamotto here. No need to make use of it. And that's another successful fight.
Nice stagger.
Well, there's no way they're going to contest this.
Yeah, no touch. That's such a nasty stagger on the Luna Snow. She's not going to be back in the fight for a while. Free capture. And I wonder though, Mitch, do you think this Storm can continue to be successful here on the second point, especially the end? I'm thinking about that underground phase. Might be a little bit more difficult.
Again, you probably need to sit pretty far back. I think once we're going up and we're down and up those tunnels here, though, it's probably fine to stay here. And Naga really able to punish with that Omega Hurricane, Jake, when there's not enough healing for Peps. Big trays coming out, though. It's both Winter Soldiers going down. Leaf, though, still in the midst of this, benefiting from some healing. And a Meteor M is being charged right now. Eye of Agamotto hits switch crucially. They are able to get the Lunar Snow off the back of Rajaro's stun. That is perfect. Getting the most important backliner out of the game for Team Peps for Luminosity. And this is going to have them heading comfortably into the next phase. What is the plan? Are you trying to catch?
He's spawn blocking. He's going to spawn block with this. I don't think you can get out of the spawn if he blocks both exits. And oh, this is nasty.
Oh my God.
That portal lasts a long time. I mean, you've got a few players out. The question is, can those players who are out of the spawn stall the game long enough? Because the rest of the team just cannot come to this engagement.
It's unbelievably trolled from Rajaro.
This is the kind of play I love, actually.
Oh my God.
He's just looking. He's just looking.
All right, we finally are able to come forward now, but it will be a fate of both worlds to counter Naga's Omega Hurricane. So Peps do see Switch forced to use that healing ultimate, but there are none left now. This could be a big crack and impact from Destroyed, looking for connections, but caught inside the strangling prison and taken down. Leaf from range, now on a Storm of their own, is able to deal with that Winter Soldier, and Fate has been able to develop their own fate of both worlds.
Yeah, trades coming in. Armed and Dangerous activated for Team Peps, trying to force the retries, trying to continue this snowball, but Fate popping the Fate of both worlds, stabilizing for now for Luminosity, but they're so far from their own spawn. The defenders, I think, have already done enough here. Team Peps getting this cleanup one by one. The attackers fall, and Leaf now showing a little bit more hero diversity. Okay, the Wolverine, it wasn't working out. The Fire of the Storm was too much of a threat. He's just willing to take that mirror against Naga.
Yeah, match it, of course. I mean, there's just so much... just a dot that you can really... Oh, what a mad cannon from Trust Me! From the low ground, no less. Team Peps, massive pick off, hardest out of the game for now. And they're able to take this high ground away from Luminosity, rather. They're able to take this high ground away. Meteor, everyone's going to be forced to group up here. It's going to make it very dangerous for Peps to play out in the open, as Trust Me is very aggressively taking space, and I'd say telegraphing that he's got this ultimate ready.
Yeah, Leaf dancing well, though, trying to stay alive. Meteor tries to just slam dunk this. Oh, but it's a little too high. Hits the ceiling.
That miss, that's so crucial to have that ability in play. And now here comes the Omega Hurricane. Natloc's going to go down to Rajaro's Maelstrom before the fact. But there is enough Luminosity healing in play. Naga is the one that actually goes down here, and Peps are finally, again, able to crush Luminosity. After the spawn trap, I thought they'd be in trouble, but Peps have really stabilized.
That strangling prison was nasty. I think that was on 5 from Timo, and they just get a full-on cleanup. Luminosity full reset. They have a strange portal of their own. I'm not sure if they do. Seems like it may still be on cooldown since they're pushing forward and fighting. And Team Peps with this nasty forward holder taking the fight to Luminosity.
Rajaro might be looking for, okay, just a reposition there. That Groot will put so much pressure on Rajaro. They're able to play with the rest of their team now, at least. I have Agamotto from both strangers in this fight. It's going to be big. Shu has 80 charge. Goes in, slightly knocked off course, but Destroyed was still a little bit too far forward. Shu gets a big, I think, 80-plus charge Maelstrom hit, which really adds to the damage total in general. And Peps here feeling comfortable, but it's a fate of both worlds. That's going to push Luminosity forward. They're getting into this fight, but Crook, oh no! He had the invisible barrier, the boundary. He didn't have it available now. Naga ends up getting picked off here, and Fate tries to get back over towards that car position. Team Peps a little bit low, but they've got the numbers to work with now. LG need those respawns. They need that invisible woman back in play. Hardest finding how scary it is to fight a Lunar Snow solo. And here comes a Kraken impact from Destroyed, trying to get through the shield. Debuff applied and reset surely on the way. Timo falling, and here we go again. Looking for the Lunar Snow on the back line now, but Destroyed is happy just getting a checkpoint here. They're so close, Luminosity, and they've finally worn Peps down enough to be able to continue the map.
Yeah, they get their ticket here to 3rd point, keep their hopes alive on this map. That was an incredibly close fight. I like that Team Peps were attacking off of the objective, forcing Luminosity to decide, do you want to fight us or do you want to continue the game? Of course, you have to go touch the objective. So they were able to find some pickoffs, but that strange portal from Rajaro allowed Luminosity to reinforce despite being completely split from their spawners.
Now onto the final stretch. A minute left here, so no matter what, Luminosity are not going to have the time bank that Peps do on this map. Rajaro quickly taking the skies here, and the Omega Hurricane washes through, just draws out those strategist ultimates, likely as Leaf intended, and he sets it up to return back to the safety of his team. Now Kraken Impact looks a little bit scarier. Team Peps with that ultimate advantage now cycling through them. Here's the impact. Wall comes up, but it's not enough, and bam, Destroyed gets uppercut. That's a reset now. More of that damage being applied, but Natlox did fall to a Maelstrom, got a little bit too close to that Doctor Strange. Hardest looking for a bionic arm capture. It's, trust me, drawn out of position, but they're going to be able to bulwark themselves essentially instantly. And in the thick of things is Rajaro, whipping it good, trying to look for big damage. And while they've got Naga, Shu and Timo, the front line for Peps, have fallen.
And it's only the strategists left alive for Team Peps, who are forced to retreat and back off, but they have saved some crucial ultimates to make this final defense. We're coming to the final fight. Team Peps with a significant ultimate advantage. Luminosity needs to find a play. They've got the duelist ultimates online, but they've got to find a way to burst through this invisible woman, maybe before she can get the ult off, but Natlox has been so sharp this series.
Luminosity on the precipice here, but they're in overtime instantly. Straight away, there's the knockouts. Destroyed gets one, but Fate and Cook it down, and there are no healers left. Oh, buddy, that's brutal. Strategist out of the game. Naga has to get huge with his Omega Hurricane, but instantly you see that Natnotch just gets the heck out of dodge. Naga, frankly, has nobody to damage and no one to help him. Team Peps put Luminosity to the sword, and they'll take Midtown.
That's Team Peps securing match point in the series. Masterful play on Midtown, making it work with the Wolverine for a while, and then ultimately being willing to adapt in the series, right? I don't think either team necessarily planned that Storm pick to come out, but it looked fantastic when Naga first started bringing it, and then Leaf was just willing to take that mirror, take the fight, and honestly went toe-to-toe with Naga.
Oh my god, dude, the Timo damage. This is why you're seeing Groot get banned, folks. When these fights get so clumped up, everyone grouped up, there's a lot of damage that you can get from Groot naturally, right? But also those walls contributing in a big way. I kind of like we got to see the Storm from both sides. I did wonder if it would come out. I think also if we end up getting Clintar surface in this series, it's also a great option there. But what a show. Team Peps showing us they are able to edge things out, but this is a close map in keeping with map 2.
And I absolutely love what we saw out of the Doctor Strange. Shout out to the chat. Somebody said that was absolutely vile, the portal block. I love it. Jake, that's the best part of Rivals, right? Is thinking beyond just left click, right click.
I mean, that portal block has got to be nerfed, bro. You can't. It's just 20
seconds of frustration.
Yeah, like Jake's the kind of guy who will take every angle to win if it's within the confines of the rules. I do think that's what the portal play qualifies as, but yeah, it's dirty.
Of course, these are professional players. You know, they've got to do everything they can to win, right? They've got to like getting this extra stall. This is more on the devs got to take a look at this one. I think it's something they're probably aware of. They've seen it in a lot of these high level games. Then again, though, it's not always free to pull off, right? As a Doctor Strange, you got to be very aware of the opportunity to do it, right? Like, you know, you're completely stunned, standing still. Like, you can't do anything while you're casting this portal. So you really have to pick and choose your moments to actually deploy it. If you're too little, too late, like we saw him block this bomb with it, but in the end, it didn't really matter, right? Team Peps were able to stabilize, they hold on, and then you end up wasting this incredibly powerful cooldown where we've also seen the Strange portal used normally, just reinforcing these team fights being really important, really impactful. So it's definitely a decision to be made, as funny as it looks and as annoying as it must be to deal with. At the same time, I feel it's not necessarily broken, right? Like, if you can understand what's going on against you, you don't get flustered and frustrated. These top teams can answer it.
Yeah.
Want to give a big shout out to our man Switch, who's been running the Luna Snow the last 3 games. Last game put up 60,000 heals. This one, another 50K. Ridiculous numbers from the healers, and of course, great tanking on both sides. Who has the better front line has been the big question for me. Teemo showcasing that he can run the Groot. We've seen Doctor Strange on both sides, a whole lot of Magneto. Jake, what's your takeaway right now? Do either team have an edge over the other?
I think it's really close between these two teams. I actually think we've seen a lot of big plays from both sets of Vanguards in terms of setting up plays. Maybe the flexibility has been a little bit more on display from Team Peps as they've run the Groot, they've run the Venom, which are almost like 180 degrees opposite characters in terms of what they do, the way they're played. And the fact that Teemo looks great on both, I think, is a big asset for Team Peps.
Some more highlights rolling in here as Destroyed showcases he is more than just a Star-Lord one trick. The Bucky coming out. Crook getting on the Invisible Woman off of the Mantis for a bit here. And we saw Storms for the first time in the best of 5. Will we see more of her Uber?
Yeah, I think that there are definitely some maps where it makes a ton of sense. Just in general, think of a hero that has really respectable damage output, an ultimate that demands strategist ultimates be used to counter it, and also like a lot of like extra added like poke damage that you can throw in from a really safe distance. Not to mention that while Storm lacks the ability to like get a airborne dash like Iron Man does, for example, so she can't always reposition in a pinch. If you have good positioning and you play fairly safe, you can still have a ton of impact over the game, especially in metas where we're seeing like Namor, Wolverine, not always heroes that are really good at dealing with those pesky airborne targets. It does require sometimes teams to counter it, or as we saw in this last game, Puckett, to match it.
We've got Luminosity on the map selection. They'll be choosing where we go next. Shin Shibuya was their first selection, worked out for them. Jake, do you have any suggestions for these players? Where would you think they could fit well?
I mean, they could take it to pretty much anything that is like super wide open. I think that's the key linchpin for Luminosity's style. They want the map to be wide open, free of corners. We see Team Peps, they love bunkering in these little rooms, just contesting the objective. Even if they're losing the fight, they're often losing it well by just stalling the cart for a minute or two. Even, you know, in the end, they get cleaned up, but they saw the objective, right? Like, they're very aware of that. The clock is the objective for the defenders here on this map type. So for me, I think for Luminosity, you want to avoid that. You want anything with like open points, no cover, like make this a game of aim and duelists. And that's where Luminosity have shined. You know, they could take us to something like a Spider Islands, I'm thinking, like that second and third point are both pretty open. But it's also interesting because I would have thought on some of these maps that Team Peps wouldn't be able to play the way that they do. So I'm hesitant to like be too committed to a map because they've made it work holding these little bunker rooms in maps that I don't think of as conventional in that way.
I've never had the patience to play the way they play right now. Mad respect to what they're doing in France. Shout out to Leaf on the Wolverine. He has been a joy to watch today. The abductions, next level. Shout out to everyone in the chat right now. We have 835 people watching over on Twitch. We are up and running over on YouTube. If you haven't already, spam that follow button, hit the subscribe as well. This is our first show, and we're coming at you every Thursday. Jake, this is match 1 of 2. Do you have a feeling, is Peps going to close this one out right here?
I think Peps have had the edge for me on the strategic gameplay here. Like you talked about, like the discipline, the patience to play this style. it doesn't only take those, it takes a lot of preparation to have thought about each one of these maps. Okay, how are we going to hold the objective here? How are we going to try to push it there? They've clearly thought through all of this and shown a lot of depth. And as good as Luminosity have been on an individual basis, I've been very impressed. I feel that that's what Marvel Rivals is all about, is the team play. It's the strategy, the preparation, and having an edge on that, I think, gives you a slight edge in this series.
Uber, the greatest news is we have you casting multiple titles, and we have you on the mic all night here as Hexagrams is going to remind folks on Marvel Rivals. But who do you want to watch? Because the observers have to listen to your voice for the next hour. So
really?
If you could command them to select one player, ideally on the underdog team, who should we watch from Luminosity?
Oh, okay. I mean, that's interesting. I want to see Crook. I love him, the Hungarian as well. I'm half Hungarian myself, so big shout out to the guy. I've enjoyed watching him in previous and other titles as well. And if we get some more Manus play, I do want to see, maybe what their value proposition is for Manus right now, why they value it, and I think watching him play is going to help with that a lot. Give me Manus POV.
How many times are you healing versus damage boosting? It's a whole balance trying to make use of her leaves. Jake, we're jumping into this one in just a few moments. Shout out to everyone who's tuning in. What's been your main, though? As a guy who's 19-2, I need to copy the Jake strat. So give me the route to the top of Grandmasters at least.
I'm just full Hella abusing, man. Like every game, I just turn up on Hella, show up on the back line, kill 3. I got my one. That's the game plan on Hella, pretty much. Just trying to outplay, out-aim. Although watching these series has made me want to try Storm, honestly. I think if you're thinking about LG players to watch and sort of shutting down the way Peps want to play, so far the Storm has been the number one hero in the series that has really forced Team Peps away from their comfort zone. Yes, they won that last map, but I think LG have maybe found something in the Storm that could put the pressure on Team Peps, force them out of those little tiny rat hole rooms they're camping 24/7. Like, you got to come deal with this Storm, and maybe Leaf can do that, but honestly, I think Naga on the Storm is my player to watch.
She is devastating when you are bunched up, and we know our map. We're going to the hall, Uber. So what does this tell you as a caster?
Look, I don't actually think we're going to see like drastically different compositions at all. Like this is again the kind of map where all of the things that we've seen Luminosity like try and set up for their team are going to be quite viable. I would like to see the Venom return to some of their comps, but I do think that when Groot is in play and has that ability to sort of lock down, I think Strangling Prison is insane if you just literally whip it 180 and throw it into your backline when they try and dive you with Wolverine and that Venom. That just turns a fight on its head instantly because those two are diving away from their healers and away from those OP healing ultimates. So I do think the Groot really dissuades that kind of play and really wants to promote like a brawly, drawn out, throw 3 walls up, get like damage off the Thornlash wall, do a lot of annoying stuff like that. So I think that the bans and protects are going to influence what our comps are much more, I think, than the map right now. Is so many of the best heroes in Marvel Rivals are just agnostic to the kind of map and really effective. Unless like, God, because I can't really think of any maps that like don't have any access to these ledges and high grounds that these teams have looked to abuse. So yeah, I want to see ban and protect. That's what I'm baiting my breath for.
Yeah, and production is going to be sending that our way in just a moment. So Jake, as we take a look at the competition, are there any characters that you feel like should be thrown in here? We've seen a lot of heroes, but haven't seen any Punisher really in the mix. I'm thinking of all the other duelists that are available. Is there room for magic in a game of this level?
I think, with the game so early as Marvel Rivals is, there's always an opportunity for that. However, I think some of the heroes I'm most expecting to see come in have been instant first bans, right? So Hela in particular, Team Peps has just never allowed Hela into the series. They have first banned it every time because I think it is a huge threat on them, right? That stun ability is really the crucial focus. Although everyone thinks about Hela as this incredible high damage sniper, and of course that she is. I think it's the stun on somebody like Wolverine who's trying to get in, make a play, get out. The stun is what really makes it difficult to play against, and the burst threat is incredibly high. On top of the ultimate being something that Wolverine almost can't interact with the Hela ultimate when she's up in the sky, just throwing nukes down on you. So I think for Team Peps, I think they've really, in constantly first banning the same character, they really put a lot of pressure on Luminosity to find some other answer. Maybe the Storm is that, but with Peps showing flexibility, I'm not so confident it's as simple as just one pick for Luminosity to turn this series around.
All right, so devs, we have 2 requests. Make the spawn doors a little bit wider so you can squeeze past those portals. And then the second one, make it so that Wolverine can abduct Hela out of her ultimate, because that would look
please don't.
If you're able to get high ground to even get closer, you deserve it, Wolverine. Leaf, showcase what you got for us. Uber, final thoughts before we jump into the ban and protects. Once again, we're just waiting on all the players getting in the same lobby. It's early in the game.
They did ask giving us radio silence right now, so we're just gonna have to condition them a little bit to be a little bit more communicative. You know what I mean? That's fine. Again, I think if you insult French cuisine, you'll probably get these Peps guys riled up enough to jump into the game. But looks like that wasn't necessary. Let's get into some bans and protects.
Baguette. That's all I'm going to say, Jake. Staying clear of that one. Loki is gone. All right, so this opens up a lot. The hell out of there. Luminosity doing a favor for Peps, yeah?
Yeah, is this? I wonder if the sides have
could be swapped, right?
been swapped.
There we go. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Production said that we are swapped. But,
so
I'm not
Peps
even going
is
to
in
fix
fact
the graphic.
Continuing to ban the Hela as usual, as expected. They protect the Namor, you know, being, I think, a consistent anti-diver threat throughout the series. That's been, in general, the preference for Team Peps, despite, of course, last map, you know, the Storm coming out and really flipping the script.
Uber,
Good
there's your
Venom map, this one. Very, very good Venom map. Hall of Jala, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, I think you just don't want to risk it getting banned out here at the end. I don't think you're crafting a full dive comp, but again, you can have that dive component to your team, and I think it's going to be really stretch. I mean, Jake called it vision. What do you call it? Vision aggro. It's very, very good, Venom, at taxing those healing resources and attention span of backliners.
No Groot.
Yeah.
Will they use their ban this time? Is Wolverine going to get removed? No, they want to use it of their own. Adam Warlock is not going to bring Star-Lord back over and over again. 30 seconds to kick off. Get your predictions in right now. Are we going to a game 5? Young Brisket, Mr. Bounds, do you think we're going to see another round of domination? How do you guys see this one playing out? Remember, Virtus Pro is waiting in the wings. We got Sparks, Finzi, Nevix, and crew all waiting to play. It's Rivals Fight Night, episode 1. $1,000 up for grabs. Peps trying to get a chance to earn a piece of it. Uber, I think that was 30 seconds. It's time for you to take it away.
Yeah, you filled that space really effectively, I've got to say. That's airtight stuff from the GOAT, Chris Puckett. Yeah, again, I know I favor Peps here. I really do like, you know, some of the styles that they're able to go for. I obviously think that having the Wolverine edge is massive. Some maps, obviously, it's less viable than others, but you definitely can run a good dive component here. There's a ton of stuff you can pair up with that Venom. We can see like the Psylocke picked up. I'm kind of surprised. I feel like Hardest would be such a good Hela play, but Peps just do not want a bar of it. But unsurprisingly, it's your boy Leaf on the Wolvie boy.
Curious to see what the teams go for here stylistically. I think this is another map where we could see more Storm. I also wonder, though, for Team Peps is where are you really going to bunker in terms of like holding the rooms the way they have been previously on this map? The objectives are pretty exposed, and the cart path too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, third point defense for Team Peps could be pretty nasty in terms of their ability to, you know, hold on to like little corners and hold, especially with that when the fog comes up on the end of third. But first and second point, I think, are pretty open for Luminosity's game style.
Absolutely. Okay, already we see that Namor's trying to clear out the Monstro spawns as much as they can. You can see LGR, the attackers here. They've wrapped around, of course. We never really take the front door in Marvel Rivals, not when portals exist. Trust me, though, has spotted Hardest under a little bit of pressure. Trying to go for the 2v1 here. Good cocoon timing. Hardest able to get the healing they need. And see, yeah, Trust me, forced back there. Obviously, really showing off this alien biology. Trying to wall run away. Ultimately, though, getting caught up by Leaf. And when that Wolverine gets your scent, you are not getting away.
Yeah, no escape. And that's a great defense there for the first fight from Team Peps. Despite having a relatively less mobile comp, they're able to punish Luminosity when they split. They try to attack from multiple sides with the help of that strange portal. And Peps just goes on the attack. They don't let those flankers set up and start to pressure them. And I think that's a great understanding here of the map.
Annoyingly, each time they lose a fight, they've got to switch off whatever they were playing and back to a strange to set that portal up and get themselves in this sort of position. So Trust Me is in main right now. They haven't really opted to take the high ground. Obviously, the field effect that's in play now is obviously a little bit scary. Some of those blooms of flame can claim you. Hardest though taken down by Naga. That's the opening pick I think that Luminosity really were looking for. Timo opts to drop down. There is an unsuccessful abduction by Leaf, and he was given the bulwark to at least keep him alive. You see him up on the high ground there, right at the top of your screen. And there's a Meteor M here ready for Timo, but Naga's found yet another one. Shu is down, and Timo is the solo vanguard on the field. Not for long.
winning that flank fight for Naga is absolutely massive. The defender should have an advantage there, but the fact that he's able to turn it around onto Hardest, open things up, really puts the pressure on the defenders, and they're forced to make an over-aggressive move with Wolverine. It doesn't work out. That's a great first take from Luminosity, starting to get that ball rolling with the help of the big play from Naga.
Yeah. Then a more really big difference maker here. Again, like for the defenders, there is access to high ground here. Destroyed though breaks open the map here and makes it so you can't sort of get away with this, right? Leaf has to be really careful. The moment a Bionic Arm connects on this Wolverine, they're in deep trouble. And yeah, Leaf just, well, what the idea is here, Kraken Impact going to be used. He's going to draw out the fate of both worlds though, and Destroyed's probably going to opt for an off angle. Trust me, he's able to shield off that Meteor M, and that's the Namor ultimate that actually does catch on to Crook, surprisingly. So, all right, Invisible Girl out of the game here for Luminosity. They are going to have Fate of both worlds from Fate themselves to rely on here, but they're down a player. Agamotto getting used here. Rajaro was the one that was stunned up by that one, but he himself has a Meteor M to make use of in a moment. There's no healing ultimates for Peps to counter it either.
Yeah, and slowly but surely, Luminosity are starting to get that cart rolling forward. It's a big opening. The fact that they're able to find one. Leaf, though, is able to snag Naga, pull him off the flank that he was attempting, punish him, and now it's Wolverine's turn to really push the tempo, add the aggression here. Wolverine ult is available, so Luminosity's got to be very careful, play at range here.
All right, Rajaro just having trend back here. Luminosity have to regroup for this. Peps now have Leaf ready to go in with that last stand. Like I mentioned, that Meteor M that Rajaro's been holding on to. Right now, it might be a matter of just trying to pressure down one individual. Destroyed, picked off, though. Nice mag cannon. And that claims like a large amount of your crowd control ability. With that Winter Soldier off the battlefield for Luminosity, they can only really just slowly kite backwards and poke.
And Winter Soldier so far, pretty difficult corner seems to take. I think this is a key point for Team Peps. They've got to make a big hold here. This is probably one of the better spots in the map for the Wolverine to hold a corner and go for those kidnaps. That being said, he kind of has one big shot at each team fight.
We're getting to critical mass here, though, Jake, in terms of these ultimates. This next fight is about to be extremely volatile. Hold on to your hats. Okay, Trust Me goes very, very low, but keeps that Eye of Agamotto in their possession and stays alive. No connection there for Leaf. Multi-stun, though. That Eye is a big hit, and Trust Me ends up falling. Here comes that Horn of Proteus now. As Team Peps holding on beautifully. This is actually a very comfortable fight win. Leaf now does make use of that last stand, but there are some extra ultimates for the defenders to make use of later. The fact that they don't have to use any of their support ults, Jake, is huge.
Yeah, Crook tried to make the save with that strategist ultimate, but ultimately it wasn't enough, and that's a costly ultimate to throw away, right? Like losing the strategist ultimates in a losing team fight, forced onto the reset. So far, Luminosity haven't had any answers to this position. It's been looking very well practiced for Team Peps, showing what they've really made use of all series. You know, they understand these certain positions on the map look kind of unbreakable for them.
Teemo trying to control that high ground, clearing out the spawns, trying to set up Leaf up with a position to sort of play from. That's going to get crumbled down. No, that was an Eye of Agamotto. Comes on in. Doesn't look like there was a good connection there, though. I'm going to be honest with you. Horn of Proteus at point blank range for Naga here. It's going to be Natlocks to fall first. Luminosity with the edge now. They're going to crack an impact to rely on here for Destroyed, but they're going to wait out against some of these ultimates. Almost getting brought down by Leaf was Destroyed, but the healing was more than enough, and now they're looking to wash Peps away. Meteor M from Teemo, it's got to be a big one. Does get some splash onto Naga, so the Namor is down for the attacking side, but both of these Vanguards are still standing for Peps, albeit barely at times. They're holding on. Hardest also, of course, able to have a Horn of Proteus to rely on now. He's thrown it on in. There's a bit of a damage component there that Peps are able to exploit to its fullest. And they're going to win yet another massive fight with some big ultimates in play.
They bend but don't break despite losing a couple at the start of the fight. Looked like an opening for Luminosity Gaming. That's a massive Horn of Proteus that turns the fight around for Hardest. And now he's set up once again on the flank with a low ultimate bank situation for both teams. More pressure on the duelists here in this next fight. This could be a chance for Luminosity to break it open, but it's their last chance, Mitch. They've got to break this crucial chokehold. Team Peps want to end the series here.
Crook has got to stay alive. That invisible boundary is critical in its next engagement, and they've just developed it. Oh, it's so dirty, bro. That's why the team up is busted. Oh, the freezing monster spawn just thrown into the backline. The burst damage destroyed. Hardest, though, going to go down. So we have Namor traded out here for Winter Soldier. Leaf a little bit low, trying to get away here. Rajaro going to be stunned up now, and Destroyed comes back in off spawn. Here's Naga in midair, being moved around the map by Natlox as they make use of that pull or push ability. And Crook has to be careful, sitting in the periphery of that healing ultimate. The Fate of Both Worlds being used, and that's a big maelstrom from Shu, but there's just too much healing available. Meteor M coming out now from Luminosity. Can there be a connection from Rajaro? It'll be Teemo falling though to Naga's Horn of Proteus. Peps now down a play, but still in a position to fight for this. No healing ultimates available. The strategists have used everything they have, and Shu gets drawn into his death by the biotic arm. There, of course, is a Kraken impact to finish off the job as Destroyed goes wild. And Luminosity stay in the map.
Again, and again, he's got more resets. Overtime Wick is very burned down, so Luminosity have no choice. They've got to stay on the cart completely, but maybe too little too late. Team Peps struggling to get the touch. Magneto, though, hold on. He's onto the point.
Big Meteor.
Still trying to make this fight. Meteor damage is good.
And he's a shield in the end. Not able to take that kill, but Leaf and Nalox do fall. So Luminosity in a great position to punish players hastily coming off respawn, and Jake Peps try and quickly get their ducks in a row for a last-second challenge. It falls flat.
Big from Luminosity. It was looking like that choke point was just going to be too much to break for Team Peps. Getting onto the third point gives them a little bit more wiggle room once they flip onto that defender side. But this, I talked about this in the pregame, this could be the toughest test. This final choke is where I think Team Peps are going to be really challenging to deal with.
Well, yeah, you said that right. Shu is actually on the thing here. That's going to be a long-term solution, but again, these are pretty narrow chokes that you're playing through. There's just not much shielding for Peps to rely on. I don't seem to mind. Shu gets himself into the front line. Crook now, yeah, itchy trigger finger, I think, on that invisible boundary, and he pops it straight away. Leafs are able to walk away despite a big eye of Agamotto over the top here for Trust Me. It's big! Oh, my connection on that was absolutely brutal. And this is what Team Peps suffer. They're trying to play close. They're trying to brawl with this thing that'll puts them in range of a big mass stun.
This next fight, though, this is the position I'm worried about, right? Like, this is the challenge for Luminosity. Can they have the momentum to break this in and get a full cap? That would give them a much safer position to force a potential Game 5 in the series, but it's going to be difficult here in the chokes. And with all this fog, you got to imagine Wolverine is going to be able to sneak up on his foes.
I just want to point out there is a Wolverine thing team up in play. Shu can toss Leaf into the midst of Luminosity should it be needed. Usually less than advisable, but hey. They have built a clobbering time up as well. Concerned about the backline. It's going to be a cocoon pop by Naga, though, to get out of trouble. He was very, very deep there. Trust me, stunned up for a brief moment now as the invisible boundary is going to be thrown into play. Fate also has that Lunar Snow healing ultimate as well. Here's Shu swinging for the fence, trying to get these stuns, and it's Fate to go down. Hardest is the one that delivers with that Horde of Proteus, getting with the Lunar Snow, and there is Leaf. That's got to be enough. Team Peps have found what they needed to stave off these interlopers. The Luminosity are going to fizzle out on this last stretch of Hall of Jala. Great comeback for the defenders.
I would love to see the damage stat on Thing in those last few moments. Those punches were just hitting like 4 or 5 players at a time. He was just chunking them down in the choke points. And too little too late for Luminosity to be able to snowball through that part of the map. That being said, I think on defense as well, the first point is going to be the toughest test for Team Peps. They've got to somehow get through this very wide open point where you can really be flanked from all sides. I'd imagine that this is probably the best case scenario for Luminosity to win here, is getting a full hold on first.
Yeah, and we've seen how difficult it is. Even with a Strange, and even with the ability to reposition, there aren't great like attack side high ground options. The defenders are really inherently advantaged in that regard. Shu having a pretty ridiculous showing so far. We did see, though, Trust Me, they kind of hit a massive Eye of Agamotto there in that previous round and break open the fight. Looked like Luminosity were honestly on the way to a full completion there. Really competitive stuff, but like Jake mentioned, this first point, really half the battle on a map like this.
I like that they're not going for the Wolverine. I think the Wolverine would have been a mistake here on first. I think it's just too difficult to, walk up in Wolverine. As powerful as you are a melee character, right? So like these wide open spaces are not your friend. And so Team Peps, at least for now, they're queuing up a very heavy poke comp. And as I say that, I've been baited. Maybe they are going to run the Wolverine. I would love to see the Storm here. I think it would have fit really well with the poke style. I guess Wolverine does give you that X factor that, the enemy team has to be aware of. And it's going to be the Punisher and Rocket Raccoon team up. So this is the first time we've seen this come out in the series. Exciting to see what the Punisher can do with that damage amplification. That infinite reload Rocket, the reses as well for attackers can be especially powerful.
And so they're going to set up now and put the Punisher in a really powerful position. If they can take this spot, this is where the defenders like to play. This is supposed to be a safe haven for Luminosity. But this real estate just been stolen away from them by the dishonest business dealings of Team Peps. And now Hardest has unlimited ammunition and can rain it straight down from that turret onto the point. That is so utterly dirty. Shu here get given a ball walk. You have to dive that high ground position, and I've got to respect Luminosity finding the response here. Destroyed's able to bring Shu down, so now you have one less shield to play with on that high ground. He will return to the fray because of that BRB, but honestly, Hardest hasn't done enough in that turret form with unlimited ammo, and Destroyed has a crack and impact to shake the foundations of that high ground.
Yeah, and it's scary for Team Peps, right? They're electing to stay alive here in the backline, but now the respawners are going to be a bit split for them. We'll see Timo going over to the Venoms, trying to push the tempo on the dive, and Naga alone on the flank, in trouble. Can't quite get to the pack in time. That's an opening for the attackers. See if they can find more.
I once again, I was wondering if we get that Venom component to Team Peps, like a little bit of dive. Here comes that Punisher ultimate. It is terrifying. Not a whole lot you can do about it. Not a shield in the world that can really stop this. And, well, it's going to get even harder now. Luminosity ultimate comes on in. Oh, it's turret in time, boys. Once again, Hardest amidst this healing, trying to shut down the Meteor M, but that's still going to be an issue. They try and throw, I think, a smoke grenade up there to answer it. Here's Timo, though, with the Feast of the Abyss, looking for a bit of extra damage. Remember, it's current health percent, so big on those high health targets, but Hardest has fallen here. Team Peps starting to run out of gas a little bit as Luminosity hold their ground.
Yeah, they were able to wait out that Punisher ultimate. It cost them a lot of cap time, but that proves to be a wise decision as Luminosity are able to retake the point. 2 minutes left on the clock for Team Peps to find an opening on this attack. Hardest over to the Namor now. Seems like Peps, that was their big shot, right, with the Punisher ultimate. But Luminosity played really well around that, kiting it out and then just coming back to touch point at the crucial moment.
But now, Peps have to rely on an Eye of Agamotto that's close to being built, but that is really about it. What is left in this bag of tricks? It looks like they're actually going to knock on the front door this time. Finally, a direct approach, but it's obviously something on this map that is pretty disadvantageous for attack sides, and Naga is chilling, getting an immense amount of poke damage from that ledge. You could say the same from Destroyed on that standard high ground. Eye of Agamotto for Rajaro in response into the backline, looking to work with Switch, but oh god, that shield was pretty darn nice, I've got to say. Still, Switch and Outlocks go down. The best attempt for Outlocks to try and keep that other healer around is not going to be enough.
Yeah, and pushing up the middle is pretty much worst case scenario for Wolverine. He's just getting soaked with damage walking up there, with Naga holding this off angle down on the Namor, proving to be super annoying with those spawns constantly coming in. It's another problem for Wolverine. There's no real way to clear those spawns on the high ground, on the walls, being flanked from all sides.
Now at least the Peps have been able to make use of that fight to develop ultimates, but this is their last best chance here. Jacon even getting to play the rest of Holojala. It is looking dire. Luminosity have got plenty to answer this with. They've also sort of managed to get through that ultimate trough and are ready to unload.
Yeah, this crucial Namor fight on the high ground really has impact. Hardest forced to the low ground, can't quite make it through the choke, trying to just run it up the gut here, get into the fight. Luminosity ripping heavy ults. Team Peps trying to counter with their own.
Okay, Horde Proteus to the high ground. No one is up there though. All of Luminosity drop off that defensive high ground with the exception of the Namor. My goodness, Naga finds two and he got Switch of all people. In fairness, that support ultimate had already been used. Fate of Both Worlds had expired, but our Peps do not have any of those strategist ultimates to lean on. I think they're in deep trouble. Destroyed now, looking for some resets here. Tainted Voltage comes through. Rajaro ends up getting taken down by Shu's. Maelstrom, though, so do need to respect Peps in the absence, I think, of your Doctor Strange, but it is over. Naga has had carte blanche for so much of this round to throw the poke damage in. Switch is able to deal with Naga and hold on. Shoes come back into the fight. Fate is down. Little awkward now for Luminosity with only 3 players to work with, and Crook is frozen up. Wasn't able to give some healing, and I think there's time for reinforcements to come. There's a portal in play.
Both teams reinforcing, though. The portal is going to allow the defenders to have another decent fight here. Eye of Agamotto. Rajaro looking to get in deep to the back line. Finds a connection onto Wolverine. Leaf struggling, but getting saved by the support. So Team Peps are brawling incredibly well in this engagement.
Naga under a lot of pressure, though. Shu forces that cocoon, and here's another invisible boundary. Pretty timely one for Luminosity, I've got to say. Crook holds that one for a rainy day, and Fate is able to take the first knockout of the fight. Switch does have a Fate of Both Worlds, and they're looking straight at that Lunar Snow, but even Leaf can't get in and assassinate that healer. Where's the touch going to come from here for Peps? Destroyed under a huge amount of pressure, but Shu goes low. And there's that extra damage that we were looking for. Naga finishes the job, taking down the Wolverine. And that, folks, is a full hold for Luminosity as we're off to a decider.
A game 5 in this series. I didn't see that coming after the dominance Pep showed in map 1, but Luminosity have had incredible fight back. Both of their map picks, they played incredibly well, bringing out new innovative strategies that have looked fantastic. Destroyed your MVP of this match, put on a huge performance on the Bucky.
And again, we saw a couple of innovative approaches there from Peps at times, right? I like that they attempted to, set up on the defensive side, high ground with the Punisher. Just really, we are kind of hoping to see a little bit more damage output from them, but very handled, I think, by Luminosity to, have a response and know how to re-challenge for that high ground.
Yeah, and Leaf, I just felt like he couldn't really get anything done on the first point on the Wolverine. He was trying in there, trying to find something, but so many times just pressured out by spam before he can quite close the distance. And I think Luminosity Gaming are very aware of the threat that Wolverine poses, but they're just choosing, at least so far in the series, to let it through and respond to it tactically rather than by attacking it in the ban phase.
Now, we have 3-1 up there. It's 2-2. Yeah, it's just been adjusted, of course, as Luminosity have been able to take us to a decider map. Oh, Parker, we are getting maximum Marvel Rivals here in our opening match. Muted in Discord, brother.
Cat! Sorry, the cat was on top of my screen. I promise she's right here, and she's wonderful. This was a stray who worked her way into my life, and I love her very much. I'm totally not annoyed by her. Amazing gameplay. We're going to a game 5, and it's the only right way to do this for our first matchup of Rivals Fight Night. You guys are doing an incredible job on the comms, but can we talk a little bit about the stall? I know they lost, but how long? Was that a 2-man or a 3-man stall, Jake? Because that Doctor Strange refused to go down with some fantastic heals.
Yeah, it was playing incredibly well. Honestly, the strategists on both teams are proving so difficult to catch. I also keep seeing this in the fights. The awareness of these Magneto players on both sides, frankly,
yes.
Both Timo and Trust Me, to constantly, they're bulwarking their supports. Sometimes they go aggressive, giving the bulwark to a duelist. Once in a while, they use it on themselves just to try to stabilize, try to survive when they're really desperate. But a lot of the time, it's used to counter aggression, saving the strategist. I think folks playing at home really could learn from this. If you want to play Magneto in Marvel Rivals, having the awareness to save your supports when the enemy makes a play, not only does it save your teammate, but usually it allows you to turn around and punish that duelist with the help of the strategist you saved. So I think for a lot of players that are interested in, taking their Marvel Rivals game to the next level, getting up to Grandmaster, something you want to be thinking about as a Magneto, the awareness to save those critical teammates.
Where do we have the most dopamine being pumped out? Is it watching Destroyed's point of view? Was it watching Hardest and the Neymars? Uber, this is just a packed lobby full of talent. Who's your favorite to watch?
Oh, man, it's been sick. I really enjoyed, I think it was Trust Me? Or was it Shu on the thing towards the end of that last round? But Destroyed is justifiably MVP of this game. I think they show us some great sequences, but for me, it's Naga. Pretty much uncontested on this defense side. You could see where he's sitting, right? Based on where that Horned Proteus brings the whale in. But when you're uncontested as Namor and you get to run through multiple rotations of those monster spawns and no one's really pressuring that position, you can really put out an absurd amount of damage. I think would be very pleased, I think, with how that game sort of spun out for him, especially after Pep sort of moved away from trying to use those dive comps. That can be really lethal to Namor if he doesn't have the setup to stave them off.
So Namor was banned in 2 of the 4 games so far, Jake. Do you think that is a target ban for this next one?
I mean, it's an interesting question for Peps. What do they prioritize the highest? Because, there's a lot of these big threats for Luminosity that you may want to ban out. They've been looking at potentially the Adam Warlock team up. They could see the Groot as a problem. But we're going to Spider Islands, and I actually think this is a pretty sick pick for Team Peps. It is a convoy map type. However, there's a lot of tight corners on this map. And I'm thinking especially one thing I've seen in a previous Marvel Rivals tournament in the Marvel Rivals Invitational for NA, at least in the inaugural Marvel Rivals Invitational, we saw the winning team use a Wolverine here to incredible effect on the first point defense choke, just hiding in a corner by the bridge. Every time an attacker would step up, they're instantly pulled deep into the back line, instantly cut to pieces. And, I think that's definitely something that Peps are likely to try to bring out here on Spider Islands.
So does that mean we'll see Storm? That's the question. Chat, how do you guys see this one playing out? Let us know. Spider Islands, Game 5. Shout out to Hogs, by the way, in the chat. Finzi and Virtus Pro are waiting to play, but we're also going to see Sentinels at the end of the night. And Jake, you won't be on the mic for that one, but I know you've run into a few players on the ranked games. Who are you excited to watch from the NA side of things after you?
I mean, Sentinels has really impressed me through the many different Rivals tournaments we've had so far. They were one of the first teams to come out super strong from NA, and they've showed a huge strategic diversity. So it isn't about one comp that we've seen from them, like, oh, they're going to play this signature style. It's the fact that they're going to be constantly changing it up on their opponents. They really use the ban phase, I think, to maximum effect, where Peps has first ban hella every game. I think it's pretty clear that, I mean, for both of these teams, it's been pretty much running it back with the bans with some minor adjustments based on the enemy protect. But the first ban's been pretty stable. Both teams have kind of locked it in. And Sentinels has been a team that really has resisted that, that's been able to use maybe more heroes in the game than most any other team. And that gives them a little bit of a strategic edge to push these, niche, innovative strategies that they develop. So it's less about what exactly they're going to play and more about, I just want to learn from them. The way they strategically approach the game is something I think anybody playing at home can learn new strategies from.
So you didn't want to say Amazing or Super Gomez or what happened there?
Well, I just, I'm waiting till I, get to the top of the leaderboard, and other DPS players, there's a little bad blood. Of course, I'm very jealous of them and their position on Sentinels. Of course, I had to keep it general for the boys.
I like that one. Okay, Game 5 is loading up here. We're gonna have our ban and protects in just a moment. Uber, for anyone who's missed the show so far, walk me through the opening maps, because after Game 1, I thought this was going to be a one-sided 3-0 with Peps taking control for the French.
And no one would have blamed you. I think we were all pretty much on the same line there. Royal Palace, though, as a domination map, it is very easy to encircle. It's very easy for flankers to find great success on that map and basically come from behind and charge enemies, abduct them into your own team. Right? That's why the Wolverine there was so powerful. But we saw that, on maps like Shinshibuya, much less possible. And as we started to go through that map and Midtown, we started to realize, okay, Groot is really powerful. We're seeing Storm come out. Peps are basically, we're matching Storms all of a sudden. Now the game sort of really revolved around the Omega Hurricane and whether or not there was a Lunar Snow ultimate to counter that one. And obviously, the Storm started to have this sort of outsized impact over the game. And then as we got to the previous map, we saw a really hard point to attack that was ultimately full held here. So each map has kind of given us something a little bit different, Puckett, and we've had to adjust our expectations. And I'm sure we're about to do that again.
All right, no Loki, no Hela. So after map 1, this has been a perma move from both sides. We've seen Luminosity constantly protecting the Venom. There we go once again. We expect to see the protect going where, Jake?
Ooh, maybe it's the Namor. Yeah, that's what they've done the last couple maps. So it seems like both teams are pretty solidified as far as what they're going to go for. The second ban, though, I think is a little bit more open.
Minimize the damage of the Star-Lord.
The Adam Star-Lord team up.
Having to kill Star-Lord twice is just, it's very unpleasant. Most can barely do it once, so I'm not surprised. When you see two teams mirroring that team up, it's very bizarre. Although it does, and also the fact that you can just full raise your team, like Adam Warlock, even outside of that team up, is very good. The Soul Link is powerful. Lunar Snow finally banned here, so now
run your Namor if you want.
Yeah, so no team up at least minimizes some of the impact of Namor.
This opens up a cloak and dagger possibility now as well. For a lot of teams, it's probably one of the only times we sort of see that pick. And Eternal Bond is a less flashy strategist ultimate, but it does have that healing over time, that damage over time element that can be used to counter out other sort of healing ultimates. So I'm curious to see who. Also, cloak and dagger, very high output healer in general, and also very forgiving in terms of hitting those shots because there's a bit of auto aim, a bit of homing associated with your dagger heals.
Jake, I'm excited because Switch has been leading the lobby in heals every single game, but he's been doing that on Luna. So what else is in the Peps repertoire here? What else do they have in the arsenal on the strategist side? What would you suggest to bring out?
I mean, they may just need to match the Mantis now. I think it's Cloak and Dagger. Invisible Woman is almost certainly going to be played. I think the question is, do you go for a Cloak and Dagger or a Mantis as the follow-up? But I mean, 3 strategists being banned in this ban phase really does limit the options, kind of makes both teams start to question, reaching really deep into their bag of tricks and their hero pools. And that's critical to play at this level of Marvel Rivals, right? You've got to have the depth. You will be banned out. You will be attacked in your strategies, and you're going to have to adapt live on match day. And that's what we're seeing here from both Peps and Luminosity. It is going to be Cloak and Dagger for Team Peps taking on Luminosity's Mantis.
Yeah, now obviously switch on the Mantis, but there's no dive component to Luminosity's team. But you're hoping to have something to shut down this kind of thing. I think if it's when push comes to shove. Already Leaf showing what they can do on the Wolverine. Not that we really needed a reminder, but here we are. Trust me, going down first, though. Hardest is able to pick them off, so this is a good start for the attackers. Peps out of the gates well. Rajaro wants to try and close the gap here and hit a Maelstrom, but that won't be possible, as Wolverine's also good at denying tanks who want to move into your face.
And trust me, coming out on the Hulk here, that's a really interesting choice. I mean, the team up with Doctor Strange is pretty good. However, I think in general, this comp for Luminosity looks pretty vulnerable to me to a Wolverine, right? We've seen how many times that barrier from Magneto was able to save people from Wolverine's catches, and you've given up that skill. You know, Hulk does have a team barrier, but it's much less flexible, much less reliable to get it on an ally that gets pulled away from you. Oh, right. You're in the wrong neighborhood, Invisible Woman.
That is, yeah, not really sure what the plan is there. But again, this is where Wolverine really shines. Can access those buildings so easily. Can line up these leaps as well to curve them, as you can sort of see. And yeah, Luminosity don't have an answer for it. And the same question that they had issues answering at the start of the series, Jake, might end up being the one that undoes them in the end.
They're getting crushed right now, and trust me, is going to swap over to the Magneto, but first point Spider Islands is actually a pretty solid point for defenders typically, and so Team Peps are just running through it with a comp that we've seen them play before. This is a very comfortable for style for Team Peps. I mean, this is pretty much the comp we had on the cards for their, most comfortable, most preferred heroes.
And we saw the banner for a while there from Luminosity, but it just really doesn't cut the mustard in this kind of comp. I do think it can lock down individuals. It can be very powerful. The team up is great, but man, Luminosity need a little bit more than that because they're getting absolutely smashed. Naga, whoa, finds himself in the back line. Normally, you try and set that Omega Hurricane up so you end up with the rest of your team after it, but clearly, he was all in, and that's his undoing. Kraken Impact here gets a ton of coverage, and Team Peps, I don't know if they've even lost a player so far this map.
Yeah, they are just running through it here on the second point. Luminosity was at 90% on both strategist ultimates, but just didn't have them up in time, had already lost players, couldn't commit to the fight. That being said, coming into this next fight, they do have a double strategist ultimate. This is their chance to stabilize the map and earn something back on this defense.
I've got to watch out for the Vanguard ult combo here on the Pep side, though. Strangling Prison into Meteor M can be devastating. Destroy wants to flank, able to avoid the Wolverine for the time being. Into the thick of things now as the Eternal Bond will be active. Pretty effective.
Oh, Team
Ultimate here
Peps.
for Luminosity. And you've got to disengage from this if you're Peps.
Into the bunker, though. That's a beautiful move. They completely kite the ultimate out, and now they flip the map and take in a stronger position. Dive comes in once again from Luminosity, but stun control just barely enough to keep Starlord alive.
I mean, Destroy, though, stunned up the entire time, will end up falling. Rajaro's been able to build up a Meteor M, but things are going horribly here for Luminosity. What a bionic arm. That was a ridiculous pull on their enemy Starlord, and trust me, well, it's a pretty grim landscape, even if it looks prettier from high up. They are headed out of there to get healed up, and they might be giving up this checkpoint. It's got to be up to Trust Me to try and stall out here.
He does have the Venom ultimate, so there's a chance he could stall, but he just gets completely popped. Can't even get his shield off in time. The damage is overwhelming. Naga trying to hold on with this Dance of the Butterfly, but too little too late. You got a fully charged Wolverine just carving it up on the point. The group walls denying the defenders from getting back in a timely manner. And Team Peps, that's 2 caps without losing a team fight. This is one of the most blistering offenses I've ever seen on Spider Islands.
And honestly, for me, the Mantis difference is palpable for Team Peps. That Spore Slumber has been huge, whether it's on Trust Me, Destroyed, Naga. There's actually a disgusting amount of crowd control on this Team Peps roster. Between even like Mag Cannon, Hardest being able to use that biotic arm, of course, what Invisible Woman can do with that displacement. It's been really hard for Luminosity to use that dive component effectively. Naga's in deep trouble here, already taken quite low. We're going to see Destroyed go for it. Galactic Legend active, and look how many people Switch has on speed dial there in the right-hand side of the screen. All of those leaves being handed out, and Peps just ignore that Star-Lord ult.
Yeah, Luminosity's strategy, they've been changing it up constantly, trying to find purchase in the map. They're able to wait out the Mantis ultimate decently well, but Team Peps, every time they're under pressure, the team play is beautiful. They retreat back into the small rooms, punish the divers, and now continue the offense with a player advantage.
Kraken Impact at the ready. Crook is in a bit of a scary position there. I think it was an attempt to pulling Rajaro out of position, but he was not caught. Here's a Meteor M, and Hardest goes low, but is going to be kept alive, albeit only just, and then just quickly ducks in to that healing effect, of course, of that invisible boundary. Now Team Peps ready to rumble here, but Timo goes a little bit low, does at least get off that strangling prison by the looks of things, but Luminosity have the staying power with that Soul Resurgence that Crook deployed to stay in the fight.
I mean, they finally get a stoppage here, Mitch, but this is a really rough start to the map so far. Team Peps snowballed all the way through to nearly the end of third point. They've still got 2:30 on the clock. They are going to swap over to the Thing, so continuing to value some of that damage threat in the small rooms, but without the Groot, could be a little bit less defensive. Oh no, this is that is a Star-Lord in the wrong house.
There's no way he's going to be getting out of that storage closet. Not sure how he turned up there. Trust me here, hoping to find the back line. Cellular corrosion, not available for him right now, so really just trying to be a nuisance and take up some attention. Perhaps, of course, without Hardest for the time being. And trust me, it's just, again, trying to delay, trying to disable, dismay if possible. Shield available, as E is popped. Trust me goes a little bit low now, having to try and climb up on the periphery. And we'll be able to get back to safety. However, the rest of Luminosity have given up ground, and that cart is on the move. Here comes the Dance of the Butterfly now, and trust me, is in the middle of it. Naga is trying to get some damage down, and it is clobbering time, but Team Peps have very little follow-up to that Thing ultimate. Shu goes very, very low, and these Flaming Fists do find some hits, but no eliminations.
And this third point has proved to be a decent spot for Naga, especially with the switch to Psylocke. He's been constantly able to attack, has punished Hardest first in a couple of these fights, and that's denying Team Peps of being able to fight at full strength. Once again, they're set up on the flanks. This time, Star-Lord has found a new hiding position, one that maybe will be a little bit harder for Wolverine to catch.
So far, trying to stay out of trouble. Destroyed is able to use all those dashes to get to a safer spot. And they realize that Hardest is sat there in the back line. Is there a chance for a quick assassination for Destroyed? And we go! Hit the E! Gotta be stunned up briefly, but damage is done, and Switch was not able to be healed up quickly enough. Trust me here, obviously can combine with that Star-Lord quite nicely. And remember on that Venom, you do headshot, so you actually do need to care a little bit about your aim if you're trying to get that big damage output.
Oh, the stall on this Magneto. They're burning the extra time, so it should be pretty much final fight for Team Peps. And I gotta say, Luminosity, despite all the pressure they were under, they've done a masterful job on third point of meeting out the ultimates one by one. They still have a really huge bag. Pretty much 5 ultimates going to be online for this next team fight. So Team Peps, they've got a fair fight, but no real advantage here coming into what will be likely the final fight of the defense.
Yeah, they've rationed them out, haven't they, Jake? Withstanding this constant pressure from Team Peps. Rajaro, are you going to guess for this one? Yes. Meteor M does not find any target by the looks of things. That was Soul Resurgence used by Luminosity, though. They do have Invisible Boundary ready to draw. Timo is going to go for that Meteor themselves here. Try to get it around the corner. Big damage on Trust Me, but honestly, Marvel Rivals, that can be healed up awfully quick. Timo getting peppered down from that high ground as Leaf is back here on the Wolverine with a last stand available. Doesn't want to try and fight or risk getting slept there by Crook, and I can understand his recalcitrance. Dive into the front line, though. Leaf has found Crook, and oh my goodness, they get a bulwark. Great reaction there from Timo to try and keep their Manus alive, but Leaf simply ducks out, comes back in, and there it is. Able to find that very important strategist elimination. Rajaro down, Shu, of course, back here on the Thing. Team Peps has taken them the entire length of the round after such a good start to get this close. I like that Feast of the Abyss used to buy a bit of time there for Trust Me, but there's unlikely to be any significant resistance from this point out with Leaf pushing in as they are. Destroyed is down. Captain America makes his appearance. What a rarity and what a pleasure, but Rajaro will be stunned up, then removed. Fate also very, very low as that overtime wick does start to tick down a little bit. It's going to be Leaf fighting a 3K, running roughshod and getting Peps towards the end of the map. Trust Me slept, eventually dispatched, and there we go. Full completion with no time left.
Oof, Luminosity snatched a chance back to secure this series. I mean, with the way those first 2 points were going, I thought this could have been just a quick in and out. Team Peps finishing the series with dominance, but no, Luminosity, they run out the clock to 0. They've secured at least a chance here. You know, I think if Team Peps finishes with a couple minutes, that would just be demoralizing for Luminosity. But the last few fights, for the most part, went their way.
And you can see here, this is obviously after 1/2 of play. And while only doing, 10K or so damage on the Venom, Trust Me's definitely been a pretty key component of LG's ability to disrupt the attackers before they can set up. Because we don't have Lunar Snow here, you don't have access to the freeze. Ice Arts with that cleave healing, don't have access to that either. Of course, no Fate of Both Worlds to rely on. So we're definitely in a world where we're quite limited in terms of just that raw healing throughput. And you can see that Mantis rarely can keep up with some of the, the more headliner strategists. 10k healing for a half is pretty darn good, but this can be bursted through. You can overcome this level of healing, I think, with great damage connection and good dive like we saw.
I gotta say, though, this is the point that I'm worried about for Luminosity Gaming. The first attack trying to push through the chokes for Team Peps. If anything, Team Peps comp is better on defense, right? Where they're able to just hold down a position, stall the game out. They've been doing that all series long. On defense, that's really a natural play style, especially on first point. You're gonna see this first bridge choke really be a critical spot for Team Peps to win a few fights and stall the clock down.
Out of the gates we go once more. Team Peps on this attack side now. I'm still going to try and make use of the Wolverine. The Groot, though, something I've been looking at, something that Team Peps have been leveraging extensively. Switches down, though, again. Less mobility available to the Mantis, and Luminosity crunch into Team Peps here, straight off the rip. You can see, of course, that tower here in this main courtyard being busted down, and that gets them off to a brilliant start.
Yeah, that's exactly what they needed. Team Peps just going for kind of a throwaway fight here, honestly, fighting this close to the attacker spawn. But I think it's exactly to set up this play. They wanted to create chaos. Now they're going to go with the Strange Portal, re-engage, and fight from the defensive side, or rather from the attacker's side of this same bridge choke. This is where Luminosity Gaming, though, with their high mobility, these defenders for Team Peps, they're kind of exposed in the open here.
Yeah, and I think they're feeling it now as look who goes overhead. Looks like it's destroyed. Hit that back line pretty darn hard. Trust me, stunned up though, but is able, of course, to pop that shield and get back to business. Shoo. It's just a roiling mass of bodies around the Doctor Strange. Okay, everyone's able to get inside that invisible boundary in time. So Destroyed won't be able to find any eliminations. Trust me is down. So now Luminosity lack that Venom component to their team, and losing Fate here means that it's all over but the crying in a fight like this. Destroyed hoping to find something that's really just about trying to maintain a foothold here close to the card and wait for reinforcements.
LG spawn, though, is right here, so Naga is going to recommit with Dance of the Butterflies into the backline, finding some pickoffs.
I can't so much more than that.
Hardest has the reset going, though. He's trying to clutch this out pretty much solo. Maybe going to be able to get it done here with pretty much no one left to support him.
Jeez, you've got to respect
that'll be the end of it, though. Cleaned up by Magneto and Venom. But, I mean, still 2 minutes off the clock, and the card has barely gotten rolling here, Mitch.
I mean, yeah, looking conversely at how Peps were able to breeze through this part of the map and still have trouble finishing, I think that's 2 minutes that is extremely relevant. Now you can see Rajaro probably wants to control this high ground and not give Leaves easy access to the backline by pushing up and diving on down. Also presenting an off-angle threat with the Meteor M. It's definitely something that Peps have to be mindful of. They have Strangling Prison, no Soul Resurgence available. Last Stand at their fingertips too.
Ultimates available for Luminosity. Legendary being ripped, but Hardest has already found Naga, shutting down one of the most threatening frontliners. And that catch was by Teemo was brutal. He caught those divers in, separated the rest of the attackers with the help of those strangling walls. And now Luminosity forced a reset, and that was their legendary. That was their opportunity to push forward and potentially get a cap. Clock running low. If they cap this, we'll be pretty much in overtime here. And Team Peps, they've got a serious bank of ultimates for Luminosity to chew through.
This is terrifying for Luminosity. Destroyed probably using that Galactic Legend, Jake, in probably the least effective way possible from his own backline, just trying to pepper someone who's not protected. It didn't work out at all. Teemo goes a little bit low here. Definitely some pod coming in from that right side building, and I suspect that Naga has something to do with it. In we go. Invisible boundary here for Luminosity. Rajaro is going to be forced out of the fight. Needs to get back in, but his wall's in the way as well. It's an absolute mess, but Shu gets picked off first. Natlox does get their ultimate into play now with Crook going down. You've lost a strategist. And Leaf is looking to go to work. We are hearing the resets come out from Hardest now, trying to get rid of Fate, and yet another one will come down. Big damage off the Kraken impact. Destroyed desperately trying to fold away, but another convincing defensive hold. And Team Peps here looking poised to take the series.
We've focused so much on the strategic play from Team Peps, and I think it's well-deserved, but man, Hardest on this Winter Soldier, he is pretty much dominating them in the competition, right? Like, with this high mobility comp Luminosity are running, they don't really have the durability to deal with the Kraken impact, and he's constantly being able to clean up these scrappy team fights with the help of those resets.
That was big ultimate though from Team Peps here. Luminosity have a real crack at this one, but trust me, stunned up goes low as he tries to hit the backline, and Hardest has the kit to dispatch the interloping Venom. Now out in the open we go. Crook goes down, and this is Peps winning out with no ultimate so far. Destroyed desperately trying to go for a Galactic Legend, but I'm not sure if his names will be inscribed in the annals of history from here on out. Naga, a little bit low, trying to go in with the dance of the butterfly, and that is a critical massive damage finally achieved by Luminosity. Shu and Teemo finally give up the ghost, but Leaf is still here with a final stand to use and big damage to take Trust Me out of the fight. He'll shield up for the time being, and a Feral League doesn't connect, but Leaf can follow it up with standard slashes. Now back to the point we go. Leaf is running on fumes here. It's only Overshield that kept them alive for that window, and now they're back into the fight. Destroyed, trying to hang around, but eventually pushed back, and Invisible Woman returns. She'll herald the end for Luminosity. They are stopped in their tracks here on Spider Islands, and Peps finally prevail.
What a well-fought series from Luminosity, but in the end, Team Peps, with the team play, constantly punishing these attempts at aggression from Luminosity. It all comes back to that opening map of domination, with how impressive their performance was there. When it just went to map picks for the rest of the series, Team Peps, with the preparation, the strategy, were able to get it done.
Oh, man. Let's have a look back at this, and you can see now, with 3 bans aimed at strategists, we had to see Menaces, we had to see Invisible Woman, which obviously is the next best 2. And you can see it's just hard to have that oppressive, healing output in general. A tough pill to swallow here for Luminosity, because Destroyed and Naga had a really good game, but it wasn't really about raw damage output. It was about Hardest being able to shut down flankers with that heavy CC, and Leaf doing the same to those enemy vanguards, taking them out of the fight, dispatching them, and securing that all-important player advantage.
I love the way they played around the Groot in this style. Like, not only are they pulling you into this tiny bunker with the rest of their strategists and their whole team ready to punish you, but then they're locking you in with a Groot wall while they clean you up and you completely separate you from your own strategist. And I felt like that was the key to a lot of Pep's success, was being able to deny this positioning from Luminosity Gaming. Yes, Luminosity is pumping the damage. They're even finding picks at times, but time and time again, they're being punished for doing so. They're being pulled into positions where they're not ready to fight. And I got to give a lot of props to Peps with the team coordination here. It's clear the communication between these players is really, really strong. We almost never saw players out of position for Peps. They were always fighting together as a unit. At times they were dying together as a unit, but they were always together. They really played well as a team, which I think potentially bodes well for their match in the money match here against Virtus.pro.
Peps gets it done every map they selected. They looked very strong. In fact, they were one strategist pick away from finishing with 4 minutes on the clock. They were rolling on that attack. I have to say, the thing I learned today, my favorite games are the ones where Loki and Luna get banned at the same time. Why? People are eliminated. There's knockouts that actually happen. So great stuff in our final game 5. Will we see more of it? You might want to bring that strategy against Virtus.pro. Uber, as we take a look, though, at Luminosity, they are done for the night. Highlights in your eyes, though, because this is definitely going to be a team to watch in North America. Sorry,
absolutely. I mean, the team is awesome. I really like sort of what they can bring with the front line of, like, Trust Me and Rajaro. I like how much they dabbled, with half of their team sort of diving here. I thought it was really effective in tying up the enemy backline, just stretching the healing resources in general, and also just getting in people's faces and taxing their bandwidth. I think Destroyed and Naga are a great duelist combo. I think Destroyed on the Star-Lord has been a real highlight for me, and my boy Crook also put a really strong showing. The preference, of course, for this team to go towards the Mantis in some comps really helped them have another form of CC, especially in games where Luna's banned. Like, being able to sleep a Wolverine or someone getting there is really impactful. But I mean, can't take anything away from Peps here. These guys, they wanted it more. I think it's clear to see.
Leaf on the Wolverine. Thank you, observers. Point 1, we just got to hang out with him for about a minute and a half. Jake, I feel like this is the player to shut down moving forward if you're Virtus.pro, right? What's your scouting report after sitting in here watching 5 games if you're Finzi and Nevix?
I've seen enough, man. Just ban Wolverine. Maybe on some of these like super wide open maps, right? Luminosity was able to tactically outplay. They were able to win some of those maps. But when Leaf has a good game, when you go to Pep's map pick, you better believe they are going to be playing around Leaf. They're going to have every possible bunker in the map scouted out, prepared, the full formation set up. You can't just let Leaf run rampant on you like this.
Let's take a look at your MVP. Most valuable player in the lobby was Leaf from Team Peps, the Frenchman. Just bullying everybody, abduction after abduction, dashing in your face, never dying. This guy was just he felt invincible at times, Uber.
Yeah, look, the air control you get with Feral Leap, I think, is pretty wild. Some of the tech that you can do with this ability, it's pretty sort of well hidden. But once like you have like that full rage, your regenerative healing factor just gives you a massive chunk of bonus health, and you obviously sort of begin to heal when that's triggered. So like you become, for all intents and purposes, like an off Vanguard. You have the health pool. You have obviously a great sort of global taunt. You have cooldowns that allow you to decrease the amount of damage incoming. So many of these durability abilities baked into the kit for Wolverine, and then like absurdly high damage when you do build that rage up. He's kind of doing everything right now. Definitely, I think needs to be looked at through the pick and the banner protect phase. Rather, as if you don't have a great Wolverine play, then you need to make sure you don't run into one.
Jake, I was worried without a Luna that maybe Switch was going to struggle from Peps. The man popped off. He put up the best numbers on his role. I believe he picked up Mantis for that last game. Expectation for Peps moving forward. Do you want to use a... Are we forcing them to run a 2-2-2? Will we ever see a triple
I can do what they want.
Strategist tonight?
Right.
I mean, it's really interesting in Marvel Rivals right now that despite there not being role luck, there's no limit to, I mean, you could play 6 strategists if you want to. I mean, good luck with that, by the way, but you can play whatever you want, and just teams have figured out that this is, the best style. This seems to be the winningest play. We've seen in previous tournaments, we saw a little bit of triple strategist, triple Vanguard, but people found counters. I mean, you got to think characters like Wolverine are incredibly punishing on those, like, if you're just trying to run pure beef healers and Vanguards, it's not going to work against Wolverine. He is super happy to play into that. And there's a lot of these duelist characters that naturally punish the enemy for grouping up too much, relying too much on just constant healing throughput. And I think the key factor for Winter Soldier and Wolverine that makes them both incredibly powerful is we talked about how hard it is to kill through some of these strategist ultimates, right?
Yeah.
Like when Luna Snow is popping the Fate of Both Worlds, I mean, good luck bursting through. However, if you can grab somebody and pull them out of the area effect of the ultimate, or pull Luna herself away from her teammates, that's a great way to deal with that ultimate. Even though you can't necessarily stop it, you could still find eliminations in that moment.
I love it. The chat is arguing right now. Was it Leaf over Hardest as the MVP? Well, you get a chance to watch both of them as they go round 2 this time. It's a best of 7 for money. They're playing against Virtus Pro. Uber, it's been a blast here on the opening night of Rivals Fight Night. I know you're doing this for a few other games. For anyone who's tuning in for the first time for a fight night, what can they look forward to the rest of the show?
Yeah, again, I mean, I love the show. It's low key. We're got our hair down. It's quick and snappy. I mean, it normally is, but these teams always throw down. $1,000 on the line every week is not something to sneer at. It's definitely good incentive, and we always see these teams bring their best for that best of 7 game. So I'm super hype. I'm expecting more of the same, even better. And Team Peps are going to have their wits about it, because VP have been salivating in the chat, waiting to get into this game. They will be hungry.
Greatest team in Europe? At least according to the global leaderboard. When we come back, take a look at Nevix and Virtus Pro live here on Marvel's Fight Night.